Touchdown! What a run in the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores!
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Anzio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is the first full week of the college football season. Good afternoon, all of us together today with Paul Catalina to my left and Craig Smoak to my right. I'm David Smoak. Thank you very much for your time. And gentlemen, it's like start your engines. We have some college football evidence. Not a lot, but there is some evidence. And obviously the game in Dublin, Ireland is one where we saw a lot of evidence. Overall, I thought it was a compelling game, sloppy at times. The weather maybe had something to do with that, perhaps as well. The teams playing each other had something to do with it. But we have evidence and a really nice win, and a gutsy win, making plays when the game was on the line. Iowa State, Matt Campbell, win Farmageddon on, of course, across the ocean.
Yeah, I think it kind of came down to Chris Kleiman making a very bold decision going for it on fourth down around his own 30-yard line, and they didn't get it. And then that kind of gave Iowa State an opportunity to win the game and then essentially run the clock out after that when they got the ball back. So the weather was terrible, which for football, it's how it is in Ireland. Like, they were playing in rugby weather for sure. And, they're on a rugby pitch. I was very impressed with the way that Rocco Beck kept his head together as he always does. Kansas State just didn't have as much big game-breaking abilities I thought they would in the first game. But, again, it's 24-21. It was about what everybody expected it to be, close.
Yeah, I mean, a terrific win for Iowa State. I think the way I would put it is an important win for Iowa State because we don't know how terrific it is just yet or how big it will be ultimately. But I do think how good the win was. It was good. It was important. Big picture we'll see. But I think as far as game number one goes, you want to be 1-0. You want to walk out of wherever you are with a win, no matter how you got it, and then you can go address whatever you need to address afterwards. And that's what the Cyclones are able to go and do this week. So I know there was a lot of travel and just the weather early on. I think we should have probably expected that. Now that, like, when I started watching that game, I thought, oh yeah, I don't think I really took into account European weather and Irish weather. And I was like, oh yeah, even though it's blazing hot, typical summertime here, it's a little bit different over there. So that was unique to see, like, fall football weather right there in week number one. But the teams eventually, adjusted to that and dealt with that as best they could. But yeah, I think it was an important win for Iowa State. Definitely a lot of questions about K-State coming out of that one, both on and off the field, that we'll get to eventually. But Iowa State made the important plays down the stretch, the big conversions, and K-State just not able to have what they needed to up front in this game to be able to convert when they needed to. And that was a hell of a way to start the season. Wasn't the cleanest, prettiest game in the world, but it was damn good to watch, and it was a really good, important win for Iowa State. Yeah, there's no question. And one of the reasons why it was important, and by the way, Iowa State Director of Athletics Jamie Pollard today will join us at 4:00. I bet he has a windburn and sunburn from all the golf that he played, plus the game and the trip itself. Here's a little bit of a trend that Iowa State has now been able to get rid of. This is from Chris Hassel. They had lost 9 straight games against ranked teams and 10 of 11 in one-score games. But since the final game of 2023, the Cyclones are now 4-1 against ranked teams and 7-1 in one-score games. And then Chris added, that's Rocco Beck, who made some big plays along with, again, so did many others. Both teams had guys making plays, but that's a nice win for Iowa State. They won 11 games last year, and they're off to a nice start with the win against their rival in K-State. Yeah, look, the first part of the game was exactly as I expected it to be. I mean, the game was pretty much – look, it was two teams built around physicality on defense, hitting each other as hard as they could. Who made the big mistake? You could say that was Kansas State early in the game with the Dale Edwards fumble, but or the Chris Kleiman's decision to just go for it on fourth down. With that much time left in the game, I was really surprised in a game that was so close. But look, I'm never going to really fault a coach for playing the odds one time during the game and trying to go against the grain and surprise the other team. But that was an interesting decision at the end of the game, to say the least, to go for it when they went for it. Yeah, it was, and I've already seen a lot of questioning of that, as you expect. So that's just where we are now. Is instead of talking about what might happen, we actually question what did happen. So a lot of K-State fans, have their things that they can pick apart from that game, and I'm sure Iowa State, even with the win, there's things that you want to see that's in need of getting better or whatever. But yeah, just a really important win for Iowa State to be 1-0 overall, to be 1-0 in the Big 12. And that second half, I mean, a lot more scoring. It felt like just kind of like an explosion there, but a lot of it was also Kansas State just turning the ball over on downs over and over and over again. Again, just could not keep the chains moving. And I think you've got some concerns about that K-State O-line. I thought Avery Johnson played fine. I thought he was, even good at times. I don't think he was like the problem, even though I know we're going to talk about some other stuff, but I do worry a little bit about that K-State O-line. Dylan Edwards not being available for basically the entire game. That's another thing we could talk about. That obviously comes into play and matters, but Carson Hansen was great for the Cyclones. Rocco Becht was really good when it mattered most, even though he was like 14 of 28 or something like that. That doesn't look good, but when he needed to be good, he was good. And that's what ended up helping push them over the top.
I look at 14 of 28 when the weather is nice. It's like, okay, buddy, you don't have a lot of excuses, but when the ball is waterlogged from the time you get in there, the receiver, the other thing you noticed about that game was they're on that, that rugby grass, like they weren't moving. It's like it's a slow field. Like you're not going to set any 100-yard dash records right on that grass, right? Like if it was a slow field, it was muddy, it plowed a little bit, which made the game so much more fun to watch. But yeah, I think from the beginning, especially watching the first half, it looked like both of them were getting used to how to adjust, how hard they were throwing the ball, how much like space you need to give somebody on a route because you can't really put the kind of zip on it you want to. Once in the second half, it looked like they kind of got adjusted to it better, but the passing game in the first half might as well have not been there for most of it.
Yeah, there was a little surge in offense, especially in the second half. I thought that the weather, the conditions, it almost fit K-State, Iowa State is a game you would see perhaps when they were playing a game at home in Manhattan or also in Ames. A note from Chris Williams that we mentioned many times, Cyclone Fanatic and his site, did a remarkable job of kind of keeping everybody day-to-day updated on his trip. But one of the things he mentioned, he rewatched the game for the first time, crediting Matt Campbell for promoting Taylor Mauser at offensive coordinator. Of course, the other offensive coordinator went to the NFL. And for the second time in a row, Matt promoted from within, went with guys that he trusts, sees every day, and knows them very, very well. So that was a note Chris Williams mentioned, who covers Iowa State, on what they did with the offensive coordinator position.
Greg?
I guess, he does a good job of having solid assistant coaches. And so, Taylor Mauser did a good job, especially given the weather conditions and the climate and all of those things that you had to deal with. So this is not, I think that Taylor Mauser did a good job. I mean, we'll see how the season plays out. Not going to knee jerk to too much, but I think Iowa State feels that anytime they stay in-house, they're going to probably be pretty good for it because of what he's built over the years. So I think that's kind of what the point you were getting to. And that's a thing that's very hard to do in this day and age to that point. And Iowa State's just a program that seems like they are uniquely built to be able to do something like that, even in this day and age, whereas you can't really do that at Ohio State necessarily the same. Like you're just always having to kind of go. And I feel at Iowa State, you can kind of cook a little bit. You can kind of bake sometimes. And the fans understand that. And they understand that not every year's 10 wins plus. But he's been there a really long time. He's firmly entrenched. He's batted away all of the rumors about when he was going to go somewhere after every little bit of success they've had. They make the Big 12 title game last year. Obviously, it was a terrible result ultimately against Arizona State, but they set a new record for wins. I mean, they're a program. I picked them to win last week, and I feel like, especially after that win over Kansas State, I feel great about their opportunity to make it back to Arlington. Now, again, a very long way to go, but there's a sturdy program, and they're not flashy, but they know who they are, and they know what works, and that puts them ahead of the other teams out there who are dealing with new coaches or trying to wrap their head around NIL. Just Iowa State's built a little bit different because of that sturdiness of having Matt Campbell there. So, I think that plays into their favor in a day and age like this, and you see the results of it. This past season, and at least in this first game, you saw that work out really well with that in-house promotion as well.
And the fact that you said it, he's been there now. It's hard to imagine he's been there 10 years. And him coming and joining Iowa State, be a part of the Big 12, helped with that slow trickle eventually of a lot of defensive minds being a part of the conference. Of course, for a long time, Gary Patterson, Dave Aranda, and some others that are now a part of it. But there's David Hale, covers the ACC and college football quite a bit. 10 years, genuinely mind-boggling that he's still there, and good for Iowa State that he is. Now, one of the plays very early, Dylan Edwards, with all the expectations on a punt return, muffed it. Iowa State recovered. It really didn't hurt them, but what hurt was that he didn't play again. And today, Chris Klieman's saying that X-ray's negative for Dylan Edwards. That's good news for the Wildcats, but it's too early to know if he'll be ready to play, in fact, with their game coming up this week. Meanwhile, Dylan Edwards was getting hammered, of course, on what is the beauty and the sickness at times of social media, and said that don't ever doubt me. I'd never be a person to quit on my teammates. You saw some of that as well. Man, I got to tell you, I saw a lot of the landslide of negative after the game, how fans overreact to one game. I know it's a bitter rivalry and all of that. It's a big game, but good God, it's almost to the point where he had to come on. Paul, did you say he eventually deleted this tweet?
Yeah, he deleted this tweet, and so I don't know if he. Well, here, first thing, if people are saying that you're a quitter and you on social media and then you bailed on your team, the thing you can do to make them think that you actually did do that would be to respond to people you don't know, making an accusation that isn't true. If it's not, like, I never even thought about this one time, that he was, winding his way or quitting on his team out of the game. I just assumed that, look, he muffed that punt. He got hurt in the scramble for it. All right, that makes sense to me. I didn't need any more explanation than that. And I didn't think about this once at all until he tweeted this morning or yesterday. I didn't think about it. Like, I didn't think he quit on his team. Guys get hurt in the first play of the game all the time. I've seen it happen over my whole life of watching football. So I didn't think anything of it until now. And now I kind of think, like, did he kind of, or I don't know. Like,
well, I mean, the thing about it, didn't have a single carry in this game.
No.
Not a single carry in this game, Dylan Edwards. If you had told anybody going into this game that K-State wouldn't get a single carry or touch on offense from Dylan Edwards, then I think that would probably factor into your overall opinion on what the outcome might be. And yet there K-State was, and still behind guys like Joe Jackson. They tried to make it work as best they could. But yeah, they were missing a really good player, a guy who's right there at the tip of the tongue when you rattle off the names that should help propel Kansas State to a lot of wins this year and put them into perhaps Big 12 championship contention. So this was one of a couple of different things, obviously, that happened this weekend where I walk out of it, and I don't think it's the end of the world for Kansas State by any means. It's one game. It was a conference game in frickin' Ireland in bad weather in late August. Like, this is not a normal start to the season. Granted, everybody goes out there and who does go out there, and they've got to deal with that and adjust to that. And we know that Georgia Tech last year went out and they won that game, and Florida State just never adjusted the rest of the season. I don't know what the season holds for Kansas State, but I am a little bit worried coming out of this one, not because they lost, but because of all of the noise following this loss, from Avery Johnson and his family to Dylan Edwards and his injury. I think that it's just a lot of noise that you don't typically get from that program, and that does have me a little bit concerned. I'm not going to say that I think this is a culture issue by any means, or that this isn't just going to be a non-story here in a couple of days and they move on and nothing matters after this weekend. But it does have me a little bit concerned of, like, is there something going on in the locker room over there? Because this is not what we normally see from Kansas State as a program. But a lot of the talk coming out of this game was star running back faking injury, or star quarterback's family fighting outside the stadium. And it was just a lot of bad noise. So I think if you're K-State, you get back to work, you put it behind you. And if you're the fan base, you just hope that this isn't a sign of things to come, that there's not something that's wrong. And this was just as bad of a weekend as you could have drawn up with the exception of some major injuries, right? Like beyond that, though, between the loss and just all the talk afterwards surrounding the loss, this is about as bad as you could have drawn it up for K-State minus an injury. So they got the best thing, and that's their health. Get back to the drawing board. But, yeah, I do wonder about them. Like, man, is something going on there? I'll give Chris Kleiman the benefit of the doubt because he's a great coach, but that was very non-K-State-like is what I'm getting at.
The game was competitive. It did come down to, like, the last quarter, the possession. K-State failed, as you mentioned, Paul, early, deep in their own territory, and Iowa State took advantage of it in a critical fourth down play out in the flat, and then eventually just ran out the clock right there at the goal line, which made it even more miserable, I'm sure, for Kansas State. Craig brought up the Johnson family. I debated for a while, but then they did release a statement, and this was a part of it, and it was all over social media on Saturday night, that the father and son outside the stadium in basically the mud and the rain and the nasty started fighting. Makes no sense to me. Maybe, I don't know, too many alcoholic beverages. I don't know, frustration. Somebody said something but they did release this statement and apologize for it. But Craig, one of the things you mentioned is that K-State doesn't have a lot of drama. They just go about their business like the team. They were looking in the mirror, like that part, the Spider-Man meme, where they're like trying to shoot each other. It's the same thing. They're almost identical, but not Saturday night or Saturday evening. Iowa State was better, but this was a bad look right here, too. It just added to what was a miserable Saturday, and otherwise a great football game in Dublin.
Look, I'm going to make a joke here, and then I'll talk about it seriously. I think there's a lot of people in Ireland who saw this controversy and were like, so?
Like, or like, welcome to Ireland.
Saturday afternoon in Ireland, or night, excuse me.
What are you talking about? Of course you fight after a loss. Yeah. That's how you do it. That's how you get especially the emotions
father
out.
And son.
Yeah. You just give each other a good couple of licks and you go. Yeah. But no, this was embarrassing. I mean, this is embarrassing for their family. Very embarrassing. And it should be a private issue, but when you fight in public, it becomes a public issue. And I hope that there's not something deeper going on here than other than just, guys getting in a scuffle. But it is. It's Chris Kleiman. He runs a pretty smooth ship, just like Matt Campbell. They mirror image each other and they run a smooth ship. And so drama is just something they don't do that often. So it'll show the strength of this team. How do you deal with this in the coming weeks? Like, can you just be like, look, Ireland was a disaster. Let's forget about it and move on. Which, the thing about the Ireland game, and it just seems to be that the loser of that game is just in for the headache of their life for the rest of the year.
Yep.
And like, this is just how it is. One of you solved the leprechaun's riddle and the other one did not. And for a year, you're just cursed by the leprechaun. I don't know what it is because it's not just last year with FSU. Nebraska had a very low moment for Scott Frost. It's happened a few times, where
I think I saw the three teams that have lost in the last three, like 11 and 23 overall.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and it's a totally different thing. You're playing in a foreign country a week earlier than everybody else, or you're used to. There's a lot of build up to it. So some teams deal with it well. Some teams don't. So
having the spotlight can be a great thing. It can also be a negative thing. And I think in this case it was for Kansas State. But again, it could have been worse, believe it or not. They could have had some major injury that derails things for a superstar. That wasn't the case. So you feel good about that. I think you take the positives, you roll with them as best you can. But yeah, very un-Kansas State-like to have the drama intertwined with the win. I mean, even that video, just embarrassing. I got secondhand embarrassment watching that. Mm-hmm. And to hear somebody in the crowd, like, I think, what was the father's name? Was it Anthony or something like Anthony, this is embarrassing. Or, you could, it was just a bad look, man. Just a really bad look. And I think you go and you talk about it if you're Avery with your family, and you deal with that however you need to internally. And if you're Chris Kleiman, you deal with Dylan Edwards lashing out at critics on Twitter. It's not the first college football player that's going to get upset at his mentions after a game when he gets hurt or doesn't perform the way people want him to. I think we're going to probably see that more often. But, yeah, it's definitely a game that was not exactly how you played it out in your head if you were a Kansas State fan. But it's one game. It's not the end of the world. It was an important game because you're not just 0-1, but you're 0-1 in the Big 12 standings, yet you still have a lot of time to dig yourself out. You got 11 games starting this Saturday. That's all you have to focus on. You put this one behind you and forget about it. You clear it, as some coaches say, and you go forward as best you can. But, yeah, you can't let this other stuff linger. And then if it does, then we'll know very quickly that, okay, this team's got some issues behind the scenes or in the locker room for whatever reasons. I'm not ready to say that right now, but there were at least a couple signs you go, okay, well, we'll see how this continues to go the rest of the way.
Who won the Big 12 championship last year?
Arizona State.
They started out with a loss at Tech. They then beat KU and Utah, then lost at Cincinnati. Won the Big 12. They went on a roll and they won the Big 12. They ran the table at the end of the year. It won't be the first time that somebody loses a game because there'll be teams losing other games early, but if you bounce back, make something of it. It wasn't like it was 30-3. This game was I'm trying to sit there and maybe cook a little bit while I'm watching the game, and I just finally sat down. I said, I need to watch how this thing ends. It wasn't pretty. It was not Mona Lisa unless you're Iowa State. But I still thought that it was a very competitive game in Iowa State, very good, and they get the edge, and so they're now 1-0, and K-State will move on.
When I did answer Arizona State there, I was genuinely concerned that you had forgotten.
No, I know.
Like if you had just said Arizona State won last year, that would have made me feel better than you asked.
No, but I mean, I'm just an example. They were 2-2. Both road games. This game was neutral, but a road game. They were 2-2 and went on to then run the table and were the best team at the end of the Big 12 football season.
Yeah, and Iowa State could always lose to Iowa here in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
I mean, and that wouldn't be something that's all that abnormal, even though they've gotten better when it comes to that rivalry. So, I mean, they've eaten losses early. A lot of teams eat losses early, and they still go win the conference title and go make the playoff and do all that. This was a big-time non-con level matchup, even though it was a conference game. It's the equivalent, though, I think, of playing somebody pretty damn good in the first or second week of the season. It just had the quirk of, no, this is actually a conference game. So, big test. They had a chance to win at the end of the game, despite all the stuff that we've mentioned. So I'm not hitting the overreaction button on anything today, except for maybe Kansas. But I'm definitely not going to hit it on K-State. I just had to side-eye all the extracurriculars, though, a little bit because that's not normal for them, like we've said a couple times now. So, we'll see what both teams look like here in week number 2. But I thought it was an excellent win for Matt Campbell and company that puts them I don't know if like you're in a driver's seat already in week 1, but to get a Big 12 win, to get a conference win over your rival, to get a quality win over the likes of K-State, whether you're a rival or not. This wasn't like you went out and you beat the lowest team in the conference. You beat a team that a lot of people predicted to be the conference champion, and you've already beaten them one game in. And you went and did it with the having to go all the way to Ireland to do it. And so just a monumental challenge for both sides, and Kansas State, not enough in the end to get it done. But Iowa State, I think, feels great about things after that one. I still like Kansas State a lot. Again, worry a little bit about their O-line. We'll see what happens there. And as Dylan Edwards just bounce back to normal and get healthy, and he's back playing, getting a bunch of carries in week 2, there's questions to be had here, but way too early to panic on anything. And just a nice platform for a couple of Big 12 teams on a pretty empty Saturday to have that spotlight on them. And it was funny kind of seeing the reactions from just various people across the country who probably don't typically watch that game or watch much Big 12 football or whatever. Both positive and negative comments, as you would imagine. But I think everybody ultimately just very happy to have football back and to have two pretty good teams playing with two pretty good quarterbacks and a pretty interesting finish there, even though the weather contributed, as well as just this being the first game, to a little bit of sloppiness, especially early on.
Yeah, they couldn't. I'd never even one time last week did I ever even hear about anything, rain forecast or whatever. When I started watching the game early, I was like, oh.
Which is stupid,
looks like
because we should have
slick.
just assumed it's Ireland. Like, there's a good chance.
It rains more than in Seattle.
Right, yeah.
Exactly right.
I just watched a show like a year ago on Netflix that was really good. About a podcast that's like investigating a murder in Ireland and from America. And Will Forte plays the lead character, and he's like, well, when's it going to stop raining? And they're like, it's not really.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like it doesn't really stop raining. Like it's like a light rain to a heavy rain. Like you don't get like super dry days in Ireland. It's just how it is. So
yeah. So good dub and fun to see that game. Just loved having college football back this weekend. I know we've got more to talk about when it comes to some of the other games, and in particular another game in that same conference. But really enjoyed watching Rocco Beck do his thing. He kind of gets lost in the quarterback hierarchy when it comes to the Big 12. He eventually gets mentioned. It's just not always first, second, or third. And some, Rocco Beck as well. It's kind of one of those things. But he's a really solid quarterback. Carson Hansen had some fun moments. And they're just a really well-coached, well-built program there in Ames. And I think the big thing for them is not only are they coming off their best year ever, not only did they start this season with a massive win over their rival in a big-time, big platform game, but they've now gone on a little bit of a run against K-State. And that's something that's just of note of like, okay, they're suddenly putting a streak together, whereas they couldn't win this game a lot of times before. Now they're like kind of building a streak up. So that's another thing that's interesting coming out of this is just all of the things that are sort of looking good right now if you're a Cyclone fan.
All right, so there we are. That game is put to bed. Doesn't mean it won't linger, and if you're smart, you won't let it, no matter if you're Iowa State or K-State. KU was, they took care of business against Fresno State. Jalen Daniels looked frisky. I saw a couple of guys that cover KU saying that they felt like what they saw from Daniels. Again, it all depends on how you feel about Fresno State as the opponent, but they felt like that Jalen Daniels kind of had that, end of the year feeling last year before they ended up losing their last game, and that he had a little bit more of that mobility, that personality, and at least, hey, got the win, dominated the game as they should, and moved on, but a nice win for KU.
I thought it was fantastic for them to look. They opened the almost new stadium. I mean, it's like 75% done. They opened that. Kansas is not used to having football games on a big scale where like it's important to win the game in the new stadium, all those things. They're not used to that. Usually a team like Fresno State can come in and give Kansas a scare. I think this is clearly a step in a good direction where, Fresno State's not going to be the Fresno State this year. I think that we've known them to be in the past, but I do think that Kansas taking it to Fresno State as they should have is a huge step for Kansas because that's not really happened much in their football history, even under Lance Leipold, like really taking it to teams that you should take it to. I love both their running backs. I think that's going to be really good. They've got some interesting wide receivers, and their defense really rallied. And you can tell that going back to the offense that they were running before Jeff Grimes came in, it's just a better fit for everybody around.
Yeah, I was really impressed by Kansas. I had somebody ask me last week of what I thought about them, and my opinion boiled down to which Jalen Daniels are we getting? I mean, it really is that simple to me. I feel good about most of everything else that they have, and really it's just a question of can he be the guy who gets Heisman whispers at certain points throughout the season, or the guy who's at least in contention for Big 12 Player of the Year? Based on Saturday, that looked like that guy. He looked really good. He looked like he was comfortable. He looked healthy, and Kansas looked in total control. And so when I got that question about them, I boiled it down to, well, what does Jalen Daniels look like? And if he is healthy and happy and carefree and ready to rock, then that bodes really, really well for them because I think they've got a lot of other interesting pieces. But, they're a team that could very well work their way up. And, again, don't want to overreact too much, but there are people that gave them little whispers of Big 12 contention. And I don't know. We'll have to get a little bit farther down the path before I start thinking in that way personally. But I could see them as a sleeper team before and definitely could after watching them on Saturday. We don't know, like you said, how good Fresno State is. I'll tell you right now, I was not in love with their quarterback when he was at Rice. Was never really all that impressed. And so when people were pointing out, oh, it's E.J. Warner, it's like you're saying the excitement part because of who his dad is, right? You're not really saying that because of necessarily what he's done. So I didn't think that Fresno State was going to be a huge challenge for Kansas, but I also didn't think Kansas was going to blow their doors off basically the way that they did and dominate that game. So, yeah, that was a very solid win for KU. Very encouraging to see JD6 looking like his best self. And we know Lance Leipold's a hell of a coach who's put a lot of time and effort into building that program. Had to be a great feeling to be back at home, even though it's, yes, still incomplete. but it's better than what they were having to do last year, traveling to Arrowhead and just having the kind of in-between sort of accommodations. So to go walk back into your home locker room had to be an awesome feeling after a win like that. And, yeah, KU is a team to kind of just go, okay, well, that was impressive, and we'll keep track of you guys, because you wonder who's going to be that team nobody's talking about. Who's going to be that team? Well, a few people have talked about Kansas, and I think most people expect them to be good. It's just you don't know to what degree, mostly because you don't know what Jalen Daniels are getting. But that was a good Jalen Daniels for sure on Saturday.
It was the guy that they have to have. And, again, it depends on how they continue from this point on. But he just looked like when we saw him in Frisco at Big 12 Media Days, like clear-minded, healthy, and able to enjoy the game. Yeah.
That they feel comfortable with. And, like, we like Jeff Grimes and all that. Yeah. But I don't know that ever felt like it really –
It was it wasn't a square peg in a round hole because they have similar concepts, but it was like the peg that doesn't go all the way down. Like you're like, well, it just needs, like, it just didn't fit. It just didn't fit like you thought it should fit.
Yep. So there we are with a couple of the games with KU and also Iowa State. Now,
Okay.
1-0 Iowa State, the conference game.
By the way, interesting question for you guys. I thought about this watching the game the other day. Would you rather eat like 10 ghost peppers in a row or try to tackle Daniel Highshaw head up 10 times?
I would rather. I cannot have one ghost pepper, much less than 10. But by maybe 2 or 3, you don't feel yourself anymore. You're like you're numb to it. But Highshaw, yeah, he's a load.
I mean, he's just so big and
I
fast.
did miss seeing Devin Neal too because he was so good. But they do seem to be just fine.
And the new guy wears number 4.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. LaShawn Wade, yeah.
Super chat real quick, and then Craig, your response to his question. Thank you, Diesel. Conference games should not be played in a different country. The fans got robbed. The SEC or Big Ten would not play that game. Well,
the Big Ten has.
The Big Ten with Nebraska and Northwestern was a Big Ten game that opened up the season. I think the second or third year that Scott Frost was at Nebraska.
Appreciate you, Diesel. Thanks a lot for the $4.99 and the super chat. Glad to have you with us. And I think they point out that you don't have exactly the Big Ten part, right? But I doubt the SEC would ever go and do that. And I don't blame them. Different strokes for different folks, different marketing tactics, and they're not really a league that needs to worry about going to Ireland. But I do think it is beneficial in some ways for a league like the Big 12 to have that platform on that game that otherwise might not have been there. Does it amount to anything? I don't know, but it's worth a try. I think if you're them and you kind of got to do things a little bit outside the box, the SEC and for the most part, the Big Ten has the benefit of not really having to do that. But, I think there are some Iowa State and K-State fans that would probably disagree with you. Maybe K-State fans are a little sour coming back. You mentioned last week losing a game and then having to have that long flight back, and I'm sure they're checking their phones and just like, oh, gosh, this was about as bad of an opening weekend as we could have had, minus like any major injuries. But I do think based on what I saw, especially for the Iowa State fans, that sure you'd rather have had it in Ames or Manhattan. It would have been a lot more convenient. But based on the people who were out in Ireland for like a week, I think they loved it, especially the Iowa State fans. So, it's not for everybody, but I think there were plenty of people that enjoyed it. And, I don't think that game's probably going anywhere.
I think both fan bases, if you didn't have to have a score at the end of the game, had an incredible weekend. I do. And there were a bunch of them attending that game in the stadium. So no doubt that I think they all had a memorable trip. Now, I'm sure the ones that are K-State fans probably feel like that hangover is more than just the hangover because of alcohol, but also because of the fact the way that game went down, and two, who the game was against with Iowa State.
I don't think it was a good weekend for the Johnson family.
No.
Without getting into dirty laundry. I think that was a long flight back home and an embarrassment.
It's
I don't think for them it was great. But for everybody else.
Paxton, I got to tell you, Paxton sent me a text. He goes, man, I sure hope that no one's going to make a big deal out of that or whatever. And initially I didn't know enough about it, but then it just came like a tsunami of negative. And it was such a bad look, no matter what started it. And they released a statement, move on. But now Avery Johnson, because he's the one that lost that game and because of the expectations, has a huge, huge boulder on his back as if he didn't have one already.
Yeah, I actually thought he played fine. I mean, I don't think he was like bad in that game, but just because of all of the other stuff, involving his family because of the outcome, because of Kansas State's inability to convert on some key tries. I just think that, there were some things that obviously didn't add up to being all that great for K-State and for Avery Johnson in particular. And there's a lot of opportunity for people to go, see, he's overrated. See, and he'll have 11 cracks and probably more to prove everybody wrong. And I think last year he showed enough to show you that he's a really good player, but he's at that profile now as a veteran quarterback of a good program of like, there's expectations, pal. There's no more of like, oh, he's just a freshman. Oh, he's just a it's like, buddy, it's money time now. Like, you've been paid really, really well. You're the dude. And so there are expectations. Again, I don't think he played poorly by any means on Saturday. He wasn't like the reason that they lost. He's just unfortunately the starting quarterback. And then there was also this incident involving his family. And so that's kind of a double whammy of coming out of opening weekend. But I'm sure he'll bounce back and be fine. And he's a great player and certainly just was as bad of an opening weekend as you could have imagined.
Real quickly on going to KU, the stadium we brought. People keep saying renovated. It was torn down and rebuilt. I know there's whatever. You're right. But yeah, it was absolutely torn down and redone. But when it's still renovated, it's rebuilt, renovated, whatever. But not get a little bit. But
that person's really fun at parties. RBH 2021 with a super chat. I thought the Ireland game was a good thing.
I thought it was a great day for the Big 12. I'm not trying to say it was like, oh my God, everybody. I just thought it was pretty cool that they were front and center in a game that was on ESPN and a game that was really, really very good in my opinion as well. I didn't know until Iowa State stopped K-State on fourth down. I felt then, well, maybe that game was not over until really the fourth down conversion that gave Iowa State a chance to run out the clock.
Yeah, fair point on rebuilt versus renovated. You see headlines, they say both, but to be exactly precise, rebuilt is the word to use. So glad to see that it's not fully rebuilt, but rebuilt enough that people were able to go and watch a game there. So appreciate you. And as far as the super chat goes, I think it was again a nice platform. All eyes were on that game. It was the start of college football season right there, mid-morning, like we'll have from here on out for the next few months. It's glorious, and that was a nice big platform for those two teams to go and show the entire world what they have at their disposal and what their players can do and what their brand is. And so certainly Iowa State with the win comes off looking the best. But, yeah, it was a nice little showing for the Big 12 before they start to get lost into some of these TV matchups where you're playing opposite Georgia, Alabama, and, that's going to pull in 12 million people.
Well,
so you got I'm interested to see the TV ratings for it. Those aren't the end-all, be-all, but I'm interested to see what those look like in the next couple of days.
There are some bangers coming up this weekend, and we'll look at a couple of them, and then also even what Las Vegas says about that. When we come back, go Black 45 on the field conditions at the stadium and what they do with FIFA or what FIFA does when it comes to making sure that the fields are in great shape. We'll have that and more. We're not done. Jamie Pollard, Iowa State Director of Athletics. Phil Bennett is back from Europe. He was overseas. He'll join us today just after 5. And also today, we'll have Brent Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews. He'll join us on the games and more. And this is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be. Is your energy down? Are you not the same? Are you lethargic? And everything else you've done is what you've done like 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 years. As you get older, your testosterone level can drop. It's part of Father Time. It's also part of 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and one of them is just feeling good and having energy and just kind of like not blah. That could be your testosterone level is down. If that's the case, if you feel that way, sex drive is down and other things issued and attached to that are just not working, Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. Contact him, pettycliniclot.com. He will set you up for you to get your blood work drawn. He gets the results, back in contact with you. And if your testosterone level is dropped or too low, he can put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco during the Make This the Summer event. Check out the all-new Jeeps that are arriving daily. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990. Or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling, and ramp up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever we'll be singing like, oh, I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever we'll be singing like, oh, I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, where big plans start with the perfect ride at great deals. From weekend getaways to daily drives, your next new truck, SUV, or car is waiting.
Come by, let's be friends.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
A couple of quarterback notes, and then also some bangers, and then also the broadcast coming up Friday in Waco between Auburn and Baylor. Bryce Underwood, not a surprise, but named the starting quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines. Very incredibly gifted, talented player. He is a freshman and has been named the starting quarterback for Sharon Moore and also the Wolverines.
Yeah, this is not as much of a surprise as it maybe would have been, when they, got a senior transfer in Mikey Keene out of the portal, but they went and paid him a bunch of money, and they're going to start seeing return of that investment game one of his college career. I know that it's upsetting for Garrett to talk about this or hear it be spoken about, but He's going to start for Michigan. They have, I think, a very capable backup. I wonder about, it's 2 years removed from the national title, how much of that core that was built up in the Harbaugh years, those guys are recruited, the big linemen, the running backs and all that were young, that maybe didn't play as much on those teams, have developed up through the system and can make it easier for him as a true freshman starting quarterback. But he's got all the tools, so should be fun to watch with Michigan right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, he did have some competition. This wasn't just some slam dunk, but he went out and earned it, according to all the people close to the program. This was not just a, hey, you're the 5-star freshman, you're going to get the starting quarterback job handed to you. He went out and took it. So I think that bodes well, and I think especially after watching Michigan's struggles post J.J. McCarthy last year, this is exciting to see. If he can pan out, and if he can with the talent that he does have, then there's some excitement coming to Ann Arbor offensively this year that maybe was a little bit lacking a year ago. But this guy's a Detroit high school legend. I mean, he's a phenom. He's got the lore. That is a word that I've started to use more lately, kind of talking about Arch Manning. So if you start to hear people in college football pods saying lore and stuff, you know where that came from. You know that nobody else has been using the word lore, but like I started to pay more attention to that because of Arch in particular, just like all of the buildup to this guy. Well, if you're in the state of Michigan, there's a lot of lore when it comes to Bryce Underwood. So now he takes over the big flagship program, and we'll see what he can do with it. But yeah, this makes Michigan exciting to watch, especially as he gets his feet wet and we see what he can do, because there is no lack of hype behind this guy.
This Zach Calzada is going to be the starting quarterback at Kentucky. He's been at A&M, Auburn, Incarnate Word. He's been named the starting quarterback. Also, another former Auburn quarterback, Robbie Ashford, is going to be the number 1 QB1 at Wake Forest. So Zach Calzada, who beat Alabama when he was at A&M, has been named the starter for Mark Stoops and the Wildcats.
Yeah, seventh-year guys. Yeah, this nothing against any of them personally, but I hope this is the last year that we see this in mass. I hope that it's just like a random, like 10 years from now, so we get a 7th-year guy because of some ridiculously extenuating circumstance. And even then, I hope that they move on. Zach Calzada's got a big arm, but he's well-traveled. He's played at 2 different other SEC schools, in the past. So we'll see, how he does up there. I know that Mark Stoops is really under the gun. So they really better make it work there with Zach Calzada for him this year.
I think that Zach Calzada is a solid player, but I don't think it's great when everybody keeps bringing up the same one moment from your career every time they talk about you.
Yep.
Hey, beat Alabama.
Yep.
Okay. Can you name a second thing that he did? Nobody else seems to mention anything other than that. And so that was great, but a few guys have done that. It's about like, what else have you done? And so I'm with you, Paul, on the 7th-year seniors. I mean, hopefully we're seeing like the last waves, especially guys who have been playing not only for that long, but have been to so many different places. Now, he went to Incarnate Word and had a great couple of years, so good that it earned them this opportunity at Kentucky. So don't think it was much of a surprise that he won this job once they decided to bring him in. I hated to see him leave Incarnate Word because it was like, man, they really like re-stoked your flame, and like as soon as it got to be like really burning hot, you're like, all right, I'm about to see you guys. Thanks for that. I mean, I get it. I get it. You wanted to go play in the SEC again, and again the third time you wanted to go play back there. So yeah, I don't have a lot of optimism when it comes to Kentucky this year. So if they win a bunch of games, it's going to be a surprise to me because I'm just not really that high on them. But yeah, he's got some accomplishments. He's got some talent. Let's see what he can do with it. But yeah, Mark Stoops needs to win some games, or else that seat's going to get hotter.
It is not like losing Cam Ward to Washington State, eventually Miami, but Incarnate Word has had people raid their roster. Garrett Nussmeier, poster on Garrett Ross's bedroom wall, gets jersey number 18. Was it at Mock, the last one that wore 18? Is that right, Garrett?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Up on the tweet, they've had some great quarterbacks. This is a big deal. It's a tradition. Congratulations. Of course, last time we saw him, he was throwing it wherever he wanted against Baylor in the bowl game down in Houston.
He's the latest quarterback. Let's see. Tre'Davious White wore 18. Kalavion Chason wore 18, and Mekhi Wingo wore 18.
Yep.
Jacob Hester.
Jacob Hester, the running back, too. So there we are with the note on Nussmeier, who is a guy that is, if LSU, they got Clemson right off the top this weekend. We'll see how much that takes off if they can win that game. But he's going to be there at the end, you would think, possibly in New York City, barring any kind of injury.
I think if he's not, that's a surprise to LSU fans and surprise to a lot of pundits out there. I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 names you list off that should be in New York at the end of the year. I think he's right there with Arch Manning, and depends on what your flavor is as far as the other ones you want to put in there. If you want to put a Jeremiah Smith, or if you want to go with a freshman like Bryce Underwood, or whatever it is you want to do. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool little tradition, dates back to Matt Mock. So to be the first quarterback since Matt Mock is very cool, full circle, and a great honor for Nussmeier. But yeah, I was really impressed by him a year ago, especially in that bowl game against Baylor where he just tore them up. And he's a really good player who could very well be the number 1 pick off the board in April with the NFL draft. So the world is his oyster as we get started here, and there are huge expectations for Garrett Nussmeier, deservedly so. And we'll see as we get underway here if he can live up to those. But yeah, that's a cool honor to wear number 18.
Sawyer Robertson with high expectations. Baylor and Auburn in what is kind of a banger game outside of the top 25. I put up I thought innocuous tweet yesterday. Nope. Innocuous tweet yesterday. RG3 was going to be on the broadcast for the Baylor-Auburn game with Jason Benedetti, among others. And I was blown away. Where is it at now, Paul? 124,000 views. I think 120,000 are from Auburn fans. Some of the responses to RG3 being the color analyst have been somewhat hilarious. And one of them was, is this bigger news than the chrome helmets? There were a lot of people, while I'm going to listen to the game on the radio, Auburn fans, this and that. And I was stunned at how much reaction it got. RG3 will make his Fox Sports debut Friday night in that game with Auburn and Baylor at McLean Stadium here in Waco. So there we are with that note. And there's some other, that Auburn has, the offensive line has like 280, not starts, but games, which is 7th highest in college football coming back and tops in the SEC for experience. I did not know that. That's a hell of a nice number for Auburn and Hugh Freeze and his offense, if they can now just make sure the quarterbacks are ready to go.
Sometimes I think that's nebulous. Ask Oklahoma State about all the returning starts in games they had last year with their offensive line.
Yeah, but Neil Brown said it and it made sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, you heard all that. Like, I think that's one of those things that, okay, were they good in the first place? All that, like, okay, they played a lot of games.
Yeah, you got a bunch of starters back. You were 1-9.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things. Like, all right. Well.
I mean, it's great news for Jackson Arnold, but we'll see. Ultimately, I think what Auburn fans are more concerned about is not them blocking for him; it's what he does with their blocking. So, I mean, that's the question of the Auburn offense for me is how well does Jackson Arnold play? But I don't think, you're concerned about him not having any protection or a lack of weapons or anything around him. And as far as the RG3 thing goes, I mean, he's very hit or miss for people. He's a nice guy. He's a friend of the show, but I'll be honest with you, he can wear on me when it comes to the social media stuff. I'm not always just in love with the social media. And so I can only imagine for people who don't know him at all and have nothing to do with him whatsoever of how that might come across. But particularly if you're an Auburn fan, you're like, oh, okay. It's the equivalent of a Baylor fan tuning in the game and Cam Newton's doing color commentary, right? You would be like, what? We got Cam Newton for this game? And so I can see where they're coming from a little bit, not only because of the Baylor tie, but just maybe you don't like him in general. So it's a double whammy of, damn, we got to listen to him to start the season off with. But I like Rob. I think he's a good dude, and I'm glad that he's still getting opportunities out there. I do think this will be a much more toned down version than whatever it was Mark Jones was trying to do up in the booth with him for years there. I wasn't a fan of that combination personally because they got a little bit too loose, I think, at times up in the press box. So good luck to RG3 on this new journey, and hopefully it sticks for him. And Auburn fans, I guess, find some alternative viewing there. Maybe it'll be such in your favor that it won't matter. Maybe you won't notice.
Yeah. Or turn down the sound.
I will. I'll say this about the 3 guys he's been with. One, Mark Jones, not totally my favorite, but I do think that the good thing for Robert to work with a guy that has a big personality like Mark Jones at first is it allowed him to know it's okay to be yourself in the booth, and you don't have to be somebody else. Like, you don't have to, like, I don't need to be John Madden. I don't need to be Troy Aikman. I don't need to be this guy. I can just be myself. And he did that. And then what Bob Wischusen, who is one of the best play-by-play guys out there, old school, pure, like, fantastic play-by-play guy, I think made him a better analyst. And then I think Jason Benedetti will do that as well. Like, I think it's going to make him really a much better analyst.
Friday night at McLean Stadium. We'll do the bangers later in the show. All right, we'll move them back to a little bit later in the show. That game Friday night at McLean Stadium. Coming up, Jamie Pollard, Director of Athletics at Iowa State, back from Ireland, back with a win for the Cyclones, and all of what it meant and all of what it was for the Big 12 and Iowa State, of course. That and more. This is 365 Sports. I don't know if you knew this, but there was a huge concert at McLean Stadium this past weekend, some 35 or so thousand fans, most of it fans on the field, but also in the stadium. But the Baylor Club was there, and they were on fire with all of what they were making available for those who wanted to watch the various bands and the concert. And that was a great prep for them to have a chance to get ready for what they have on Friday, which is a game at McLean Stadium where there will be a full house for that game, sold out and more. The Baylor Club, again, Nick Colwell, the general manager, they have renovated, they have moved some things, lots of dust and nails and hammers and more, and they are ready for the opening game. But outside of that, the Baylor Club itself is a wonderful place just to have a membership to, for great food, great amenities, great views, and also opportunities to host events that you as a business do, or maybe as a foundation or charitable event, luncheons and more. The Baylor Club, memberships available. Tell them 365 Sports sent you inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by, let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We have been fortunate over the last, since we started this show just over 5 years ago, to get to know, meet, and interview ADs from throughout the Big 12. I think pretty much every one of them but a couple. Jamie Pollard, one of the first, even well before the latest realignment with the conference, just back from Dublin, Ireland. He joins us on 365 Sports. So I can't even imagine, are you completely worn out, or is there an exhilaration that will feed you for a couple of days until you pass out?
Well, I don't know if I'm worn out, but I will just say this. The week over there in Dublin was the neatest experience I've ever had professionally. It was absolutely amazing and almost surreal. I feel really bad for my friends at K-State, especially Gene Taylor, because I think up till the end of the game, he would have had the exact same comments. And I think deep down he would still say it was, although, one of us had to go home with a loss. But, yeah, we need to turn the page because we got a game Saturday and we have, 11 more games to play.
What did this mean as a showcase for the Big 12, for your two schools, to give up a rivalry game, on one of your campuses, to go and do that? There's risk involved or whatever, but it seems like it was a kind of a home run all the way around.
Well, let's start with just thanks to Gene Taylor and Coach Kleiman, because they were the ones that gave up the home game. And I'm sure there's maybe a little regret there now. And I'm sure, all the armchair quarterbacks at K-State will be second guessing that decision. For us, not having to go to Manhattan in week 11, that was a big win right off the bat, whether we won the game or we didn't. But I will say this, the experience over there, I don't even know what to liken it to, because you can't say bowl game because it was so much greater than a bowl game. To be a sold-out stadium, the intensity during that game, how loud it was, the fact that, whoever won that game was going to have a leg up to start the Big 12 season. Mm-hmm. So it was like a playoff game. It really was. And, I give them credit, though, because, we only had 6 home games this year, so we couldn't do that. They had 7, and they were willing to give one of them up to go back to 6. So kudos to Gene Taylor and Coach Kleiman.
Jamie, it seems like you guys are in a really good groove as far as an athletic department, but also as a football program. The success of last year to start off the year this way, there's obviously been that consistency with Coach Campbell no matter what the offseason brings every year, but his ability to promote from within, it seems like there's a very strong foundation that's obvious in Ames, but maybe not obvious enough to a lot of people out there how strong that foundation is.
Well, you're right on. He's created a culture that is second to none. And, I just even think leading into that game, when I asked him really deep down, what did he think? And, he would tell you that he really didn't know what was going to happen on Saturday because, you really don't know what K-State had. You really don't know what we have. You like to think you do, but until you start hitting somebody else on the other side that's different than your team, you don't really know. And he was more worried about week 2 and week 3 because the history of this game has been people have stumbled coming out of it. But what he did say is he said, what we have to trust for the game on Saturday is that our culture is strong enough that our kids will be tough enough to weather whatever happens. And when I think about whatever happens, we got rain, There were fumbles, there was turnovers. There was just the first half was a game of two teams that you could clearly see hadn't played a game yet this year. And which team was stronger through that? And our culture, I think, really showed up in the second half, especially the fourth quarter.
Jamie, can you try to describe the tonnage of everything being sent and those involved in moving and then returning and being there where you haven't been? All of that, because I think the game, we're going to get into the game even more, but the fact that so much had to be moved, flown, chart, all of that. What was that like, that just overall amount of itinerary, et cetera?
Well, I'd break it into three groups. There's the group of, all the fans. We sold 11,000 tickets. Half that stadium was full. All those people had to get there by flights. It's not like, well, I'm going to just get in the car and drive down to the game. All those people had to be moved over there. And, kudos, big shout out to John Anthony and his team at, Anthony Travel and On Location, because of all those charters, the buses, getting everybody wherever they needed to get to, all the events. So that was one big entourage. Then you had the band and spirit squad, being able to get that group of people there with their instruments and get them over there and have buses lined up to move them in and around Ireland. And then you had your team, and then the team had kind of two subsets, which was, well, how are we going to get the players there? And, how are we dealing with just the time change and sleep? But then you had all the equipment, and the equipment went early by ship in cargo bays. So, staging that out, like the amount of food we sent over, the Gatorade we sent over ahead of time, figuring out we're at home the next two games. So it was pretty much all our road gear that went over, other than shoulder pads, because shoulder pads are, the one item that they wear consistently throughout the year. They don't have second set. So the players all had to bring those shoulder pads back with them on the airplane. But, the helmet we wore at that game won't be the helmet we're wearing Saturday, because it won't be back in time. So all that logistics had to be planned out. And, it took a team. It was a team effort from everybody in this department that embraced it.
Yeah, you can't trust that Irish Gatorade. It's got to be spiked, Jamie. I don't blame you guys for doing that. It's probably got a little nip in it all the way down the line. You talked about Coach Campbell and his culture. How much does it mean to Iowa State? Because in the years before you were athletic director, sometimes I think coaches saw this as a stepping stone job, and they didn't really make it their program. Now, coaching is the most fluid profession maybe on planet Earth, so nobody knows what the future holds. But it is, to me, from the outside looking at somebody like Matt Campbell, who wants to make this his program, like Bobby Bowden made Florida State his program, and Bear Bryant and all that, that it's got to be a huge deal for you guys to be able to project out in the future how you want to run things.
Well, I'll go back 20 years ago and, coming in as the AD and having a blueprint that really was what we had done at Wisconsin. And most people generationally don't remember what I remember as a kid. Wisconsin was horrible. And, Pat Richter built a culture at Wisconsin that created an environment that allowed, when he found a coach that was willing to stay, Barry Alvarez, that the culture grew with what Coach Alvarez wanted to do with that program. Coach Alvarez's vision was Bob Devaney, be a coach and then become the AD. And so Coach Alvarez got to do that entire time. And in essence, that's the same thing I kind of felt like we were going to build at Iowa State. I didn't know who that coach was going to be at that time, but, it took us a couple times to find it. But we found Matt Campbell, and when we found him 10 years ago, we had 10 years of groundwork that we had put in to put Iowa State in a position that if you got a coach like Coach Campbell that really wanted to build his program at one place, you were putting the tools in place, putting the background in place that he would be able to do that. I liken it a lot to, you said Bobby Bowden, but I think of Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
That's another great example, or what Bill Schneider did at K-State. That's what Coach Campbell's doing here. but it's a dance that it can only happen if the foundation is there. Coach Campbell came here with what's inside his heart, what's inside his being is he wasn't a coach that was going to jump around. He wanted to be at a place that he could build something incredibly special. But he can't do that if we don't have the foundation in place for him to do that. And the first 10 years, we spent a lot of time putting that foundation in place.
Jamie, I know there's been a lot of talk about the continuing part of this rivalry and not having any off years. I saw Brett Yormark, of course, made some comments on it as well. What is the reasoning, in your opinion, why this can't be every year in a protected rivalry?
Well, it's not that it can't be, but the fact of the matter is it can't just be what K-State and Iowa State won. You're in a conference with 14 other members. And if you're going to let teams have rivalries and protect them, then it's got to be equal. The day you don't is the day people start to say it's an unfair schedule because, well, that team gets to play those two teams every year, and that's an easier schedule. And so what was decided by the ADs is there would be one game that was protected. And K-State's one game is KU. I get that. It doesn't mean we don't respect that rivalry. I would love to play them every year. But the fact of the matter is, to do that, you've got to get 14 other schools to agree that there's going to have to be more than one game protected. And that really wasn't the way of the room. The room wasn't thinking that when this was decided. And so we're going to play K-State 3 out of every 4 years. And I think that's probably more a reflection just of the major leagues now being 16 teams, not being 10, not being 8. And there's going to be some casualties to that. And it's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. Doesn't mean it will stay like that forever. But the first pass of the 4-year cycle, the rest of the ADs weren't on board to say there's going to be 3 games that are protected. Right. They voted to have 1 game protected.
I'll ask you a scheduling question here. Did you have any thoughts on the news last week? The SEC is going to 9. Looks like the ACC might go to 9. I know we don't want to get deep into playoff talk on the start of the regular season, but that just was a notable story from last week. So did that catch your attention at all? Or are you too busy having a great time in Ireland?
Well, both. But yeah, I did notice it. And I think it's a great step in the right direction because I think that, one of my beefs with just our industry is, we want to run it like a professional league like the NFL, but we're not set up that way. We've got 4 commissioners. We don't have 1. And we have 4 sets of scheduling parameters, not 1. And so moving the SEC and hopefully the ACC to 9 games like the Big 10 and the Big 12, I think starts to get things more normalized. And I think that's a healthy thing for college football.
You mentioned that. How long do you think that there is? I think because we talked to a lot of ADs, that there's sentiment for a lot more centralizing than there is now to have that uniformity so that we're not every year having these things. But then when it gets to the next level, there maybe is not as much push for that. Do you feel like the ADs are starting to maybe come together and feel similar about all that?
Well, I do, but it's an evolution. It's not going to happen overnight. I wish it would have happened a long time ago because it might have prevented some of the challenges we're facing today, but it didn't. And so you can only, move forward. But I do feel that there is a belief that that's what's in the best interest of college football. And I hope we can get there. It's a challenge though, because, the NFL is 32 teams. I think it is 32. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
but
it is.
It's 32 for a reason. It's not 64. It's 32 for a reason because they understand that to be able to have all 32 be healthy, you can't have there be 64. It doesn't work. And so we're trying to overlay that model in college football right now. And that's part of one of the challenges, and then you add to it, the Kansas City Chiefs aren't also paying for a basketball team and a women's basketball team and a baseball team and a softball team. They're paying for the Kansas City Chiefs. So our industry is different, and just this quick overlay, it doesn't happen overnight.
Did you play golf, or is that a dumb question in Ireland?
I did. My wife and I went early, and we played 3 rounds of golf, and it was absolutely awesome.
Had you ever played like in Scotland or England or ever in that area? Or was that the first time?
That was my first time, and I was able to play Doonbeg, I played Ballybunion, and I played the K Club. And, the first 2 are links, and those were really special, but the K Club was awesome because the Irish Open is there this week, and it was all set up for that. All the bleachers were set up, the scoreboards were all set up, and the rough, unfortunately, was really long, but I thought that was really neat to get to play that course. I'm surprised they let my game go on that course because I probably took out a little bit of turf.
Jamie, when it comes to, I guess, distribution nowadays, there's just so much going on in the greater landscape and all of that. But one of the moves the Big 12 made a while back was the sub-licensing deal with Turner Sports. And I've already noticed that Turner's putting out tweets last week. They're promoting the broadcast. They've got teams. They're like, hey, here's going to be calling the games. It just seems like they're very invested and already kind of getting in the mode of promoting the Big 12. What do you think of this partnership? And, how excited are you to see what Turner's maybe already doing with trying to just promote the league and get it out to as many people as possible?
Well, it's great, but let me back up and say, this is an area where Commissioner Yormark deserves a ton of credit, and he was the one that just believes that in order to position us best for the next round of television, that we've got to get more competition in the marketplace. And the best way to do that is to get some of the other distributors some product before we get to 2031-32. So Turner has come on for football and basketball, but for football, we'll have 3 entities that'll be distributing our football games this year: Fox, ESPN families, and the Turner families. But then in basketball, you've seen it even further. We've added CBS and we've also added NBC. And so basketball, you're going to need a scorecard to know where you can find our games. But what it's doing is it's getting our events, our games into more distribution points so that when we get to 31-32, hopefully there'll be more competition for it besides just being, it's ESPN and Fox. So, Turner has embraced it. They've jumped in and done some great promo work with it, and it's only going to get better because they're going to do a lot of that as we lead into basketball as well.
Do you feel, Jamie, and thanks for your time, I know you got to go. Do you feel a lot of what Craig and Paul have brought up, but do you feel better about the near future of college athletics when it comes to the FBS or the Power 4 schools? And that there's a little bit more, it was going too fast, and now some people have said, hey, wait a minute, and that everybody's listening to everybody, or is there still the concern there will be this next super move?
Well, I think there's always concern, and part of the concern is based on, in recent history, whenever major conferences have had their television rights come up, that we've seen splintering. And so, we've got the Big 10 and the Big 12 in 2031-32, and and then you've got the ACC that rewrote their agreements with their teams that in 2031-32, there's, a look-in element where somebody can buy out. So, you do have that in the back of your head. And then on top of it, we added in the House Hubbard settlement and, a lot of other, the transfer portal and all of these other issues that have kind of made it, a tough sledding right now. And I liken it a little bit to, musical chairs, that all of us, want to have a chair when the music stops. And so you got to stay in the game, even though it might be painful here in the short term, trying to figure out how to stay in the game. You've got to stay in it. That being said, I do believe that, individually, if you were to just talk to any one of the ADs in any one of the leagues, nobody wants to destroy anybody else. I think we all really want what's good for the best for the sport. But, it's tough out there, and we got to find our way through all this. And I'm hopeful. What I do know is this: control what you can control. And so my number one job is to do everything possible to control what happens at Iowa State. My second job is to make sure I do my part to help the Big 12 be as healthy as it can be. And then my third job is to try to figure out how to, keep our industry afloat. And so Right now, I feel really good about where we are at Iowa State, and I feel really good at where we are in the Big 12. I've never felt as close to my colleagues in the Big 12 that we're all in it and trying to figure this out together. And I don't feel like somebody is there, but really when they leave the room, they're trying to leave the group like we've had for years. And so that feels really good. And we have a commissioner that is, very innovative, and he's not afraid to throw mud up at the wall. We don't always agree, both personally, and he and I know that, but at the same time, I appreciate him doing that because that's what we need.
Yeah, I bet there was a couple of extra beams up, I guess, when you got back over at Sci-Town, right? That's underway. I know that's a long way down the road, but I had an Iowa State fan ask me about that, and I know you're proud of it, as are those involved in that project. We appreciate it. Get some sleep, jet lag or whatever, but a win sure makes all that a lot easier.
Well, thank you guys. I always love coming on your show. You guys are great. Appreciate everything you do to promote not only the Big 12, but also your Baylor Bears.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Iowa State, AD Jamie Pollard with us. Thanks to Nick Jost, great friend of ours that we've known forever in the athletics and communications and all that other external operations and more, for being a part of setting that up for us after Iowa State came home with that win.
Yeah, big shout out to Nick Jost, definite friend of the show, and what great timing to have Jamie Pollard on right after a big win like that. Did you have him scheduled before the win, or was it dependent?
Nick got to know me enough from when he was at Baylor a lot that I was asking for somebody before they left about just getting everything over there, and it was just too much going on, and Jamie explained that. So then I stayed in touch, and the guys at K-State as well, Kenny Lanou and also Ryan Lackey on Gene Taylor. So the game's over. Later on that evening, I'm saying, hey, enjoy yourself. If it's a possibility, we'd like to see if we can get Jamie on Monday. He said, save this time. And then yesterday confirmed he'd be on with us.
Yeah, well, appreciate those guys. That's a hard job, especially this time of year, is having to wrangle all the interview requests from all over the country and your own local media and all those different things. So, yeah, I always enjoy when Jamie Pollard's on because we know we're going to get some good stuff on Iowa State, but also just sort of the bigger picture topics as well. And I kind of got a little worried we were starting to slide too far, and I wanted to make sure we don't get into so the 14-team play, and get right back into that after an opening weekend. But there wasn't enough good little side stuff there to keep it relevant, and he's always really, really good about that. And
honest about it.
Honest about it, yeah. And I almost wanted to follow up of he feels like we're in a good place. I'm how's it feel to be 1-0 back from Ireland?
Yeah,
a win over your rival, and now you get to be at home 2 weeks in a row. As you're going to have South Dakota rolling, and then Iowa with the big rivalry game. So, yeah, they not only went over there and got the big win in Europe, but they now get to be at home for a couple of weeks. So, I don't know if that'll end up in a 3-0 or not, but certainly that Iowa game is always frisky. You're not going to sleep on South Dakota either.
Nope.
So, a couple tough games coming their way, but that's got to be one of the tougher starts to the season, but a big challenge. That first one is already out of the way.
Want to say our thoughts are with Chad Weiberg, who's the AD at Oklahoma State. 6-hour open heart surgery. Some major issues that were going on. They found it, detected it. Results of a routine health scan that produced him having major surgery. Another AD inside of the Big 12. We want to shout out to him and glad he's doing okay.
Yeah, it's good news. And back to Jamie Pollard for a second. I think he's one of the ones I like to listen to the most when it comes to, opinions on the issues that face college football, because he's in the middle part of this that is in a power conference, but Iowa's not a very big state.
On the lower end of the middle part, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to grow as much as they can, but they're in Iowa. They're
not one of those schools that can say we got a chance at the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It's no, you don't.
You don't, because again, you can only get, so there's already a Big Ten school in Iowa.
Right.
And that school may not be in the Big Ten if they started it tomorrow because of, the way that things are right now. It's just the ever-changing landscape. So for someone who's on the lower end of the big side to say okay, we would love to do all the things that Ohio State can do. We would love to do all the things that Alabama can do. We can do some of them, but not all. So in the essence of fairness, kind of listen to like where like schools like Iowa State are budget wise and doing this so that you can find that middle ground in order to grow the game and make it equitable for all the fans all over the place, because that's the beauty of college football. And
the Big 12 is loaded with a lot more teams like a K-State, Iowa State, and others than it is anybody that's like separated.
Because like if I go to Texas A&M and I talk to Trev Alberts, he's got a different like list of things that like he didn't have to worry about the things that Jamie Pollard has to worry about in the same way. You know, so like I want to talk to guys who are worried, not ones that are like, we'll be fine no matter what happens. You know, like that to me, not that their opinions don't matter, but to get to the root of the problems, those are the kind of people I'm more interested to hear from because they can see it from a lot more angles.
Right.
Yeah, they certainly can. And he's got a good viewpoint on that. But I think it's great just to be able to talk about their win over Kansas State, trumping everything else right now. And, the big picture stuff never goes away. And, they're one of those teams that has to watch their pocketbook and can't just spend frivolously. But, I mean, that's not going anywhere. That's going to be that way. Although one way to really help that out is to go win big football games like they did on Saturday, or to go play for a Big 12 title like they did last year. Go win the most games you ever have like they did last year. So, for as many people as have wanted to go and put Matt Campbell in a different head coaching job over the last 5-6 years, if not longer than that, he stayed there. And that's why we talked about culture at the very beginning. Everybody talks about it. Everybody claims to have it, but we know that's not true. I think at Iowa State that is true. That's why they can not have to pursue the splashy hire for the sake of being splashy. They've built it up to where they can in-house work through whatever coaching vacancies they have and have somebody dependable, reliable, and pretty damn talented as well, like we saw this past weekend. So I think they are as well set up as they can be, given all the things that aren't in their control. And then what they can kind of sort of control is the winning part of it. And they got off to a great start with that on Saturday, building off of last year. They're one of my teams that I think's going to be right there in the mix for the Big 12 title. And Saturday was a big step towards that. So not out of the question for Kansas State that there could be a rematch at the end of the year. A lot of football left to be played, but you definitely feel great to be a Cyclone coming off of that weekend, that win, and just where everything kind of sits right now for what you can control, the winning part, the culture part, all of that. They're doing an incredible job.
They're back home. They have a win against their rival, and another one, as you mentioned, Craig, 2 weeks from now with Iowa. Did you guys notice the new fake injury rule that was implemented during that game?
Yes.
Iowa State forced to take a fourth quarter timeout when a player fell to the ground after the ball was spotted. Not trying to accuse the player of anything, but it did work. They forced him to take a timeout. Everything worked out well. And it seemed like it was pretty seamless when they did it, too.
Well, I don't even know if he was faking the injury, but it happened.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But it happened after the ball was spotted. So I think it was good that, it's good to see that happening on a play where the guy, I don't even think he wasn't even looking at the ball or the sideline. He was legitimately hurting and went to the ground, but they'd spotted the ball. And so, I liked the way that it was adjudicated on Saturday.
We'll see how it plays out around the rest of the country, but that was, I guess, an encouraging start that they're going to enforce that. And there might be times where a guy is actually injured. The real test will be when we get a crew in a Lane Kiffin game. What does that look like? Because he is, I don't know if he's the poster child for that sort of thing, but I just feel like when I watch their games, I see that a lot more than when I watch basically everybody else's games, at least last year. That felt like it was the case, but that kind of rule will be, something we just got to monitor kind of throughout the rest of the year and see how many instances there are of that, or who finds. Is there a way to find a way around it? If there is, somebody will find a way to find a way around it.
But remember, Dan Lanning found a couple of loopholes in having 12 players on the field or whatever, but it wasn't a penalty.
They've closed them.
Yeah, they have. But there's for those guys, man, they'll find something. A way around it. In fact, the fake injury was a poll that Andrew had up. We'll have the results of what you think about it at the end of the show.
I'll say this about the game too, is that game came all the way down to the wire. I don't think you feel terribly if you're Kansas State. I do think you have some concerns. I think you have some concerns just based on the just the extracurricular, like the Dylan Edwards thing. I mean, that's not what you plan to have happening in the first week of, I mean, not just the injury, but then like the lashing out back at fans. And then just, we know with the Johnson family and just all of that. But they could very well go 11-1. I saw some like takes of like Iowa State killed. It's like that game was incredibly close. There was no dominance to be had. In fact, I think there's parts of that where you go like, I think Kansas State might still be a better team if this were to go a certain way. But Iowa State, pound for pound, I do think was the better team. And I think Kansas State's going to win a lot of games. But it wasn't like they got blown out and wiped off the field by any stretch of the imagination. So I know we're going to get a lot of hyperbole now that football is here. But it's one game. Both teams will be fine. And if you're Iowa State, I think you feel great. But you also know that, hey, if you go lose to South Dakota, all this is if you go lose to Iowa in a couple weeks, we know how that feels regardless if you're 2-0 going into that game or 1-1. So, yeah, they got more on the horizon, but at least for today and maybe one more day, cool to like sit in it and just enjoy it.
It was a mirror image playing each other. I think it was a really fun game to watch for someone like me that didn't care whether it was Iowa State or K-State who won. Just excited about that they both were on in a national, and in some cases, international spotlight. The difference in the game was that Iowa State was 4 for 4, I think, on fourth downs, and K-State was 1 for 4. That's it. What happened? Hell of a game. They both move on. And thank you again, Jamie Pollard, for his time on our show today. Around the corner, Brett Ciancia with Pick Six Previews. Magazine is always, not every day, but has been on the table here in front of me. Brandon, Paul, Craig, Garrett, do you want to do the bangers here, or what do you want to do here?
Well, we've got some time before Brett's on, so let's take a break, and then we'll do
All
the
right, we'll
bangers.
come back with that, and then if we have time before Brett joins us, we'll do some of the games that are some great ones coming up this weekend. My goodness, inside the top 10, much less the top 25, and this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. We now are closing out another month, August, and yep, Alan Samuels has great opportunities for you with incentives, factory incentives, and much more. Alan Samuels on Loop 340 and just east of 84 in Waco. General manager is Ted Teague, and more. David Gray is the sales manager. Their lot is always packed. New and pre-owned cars. For example, they have a 2018 Ram 3500 cab and chassis tradesman, four-wheel drive Cummins diesel for just under $38,400. 2021 Chevy Tahoe Z71. I love that car. When I drove one, it wasn't the Z71, but a Tahoe that I drove into the dirt, literally, with over 400,000 miles before it finally just said, I give up. 47,645. That's available. Yukon Denali pre-owned car that's available. 2023 4x4 under 25,000 miles. Yes, they have Ram trucks, and they have Jeep everything, including the Wagoneer and Grand Cherokees, and much more, but also a great pre-owned. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary and trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Here we go, 365 Sports. Big 12, of course, with everybody playing this weekend. And I think it's like 5 or 6 games also against Power 4 opponents. That's great, too. Here are some bangers. Bangers are defined by 2 teams inside the top 25. You go put that back up, Brandon. Top-ranked Texas and number 3 Ohio State. People have been talking about that game since the semifinal game. And then, of course, Ohio State goes on to win the national title. LSU at 4th-ranked Clemson.
You left off the third banger. Miami and Notre Dame play on Sunday.
Oh, the Sunday game. Yeah, okay, you're right. Well, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. You also need to put 1 in parentheses like all the other
I don't understand
numbers.
why that doesn't have a parentheses on it. The one behind that's
the editor in me that gets bothered by those types of things.
Dino Babers in Syracuse at 24th ranked Tennessee, Alabama in Tallahassee, Florida State, Auburn, Baylor Friday night at McLean Stadium.
Okay, I feel like I need to karmically reset some things. So I'm gonna do something here that might seem wild. It was very much described how much I despise the Olive Garden. If Florida State beats Alabama, I will eat Olive Garden right here on this show, and I will let someone else, the chat, you guys, I don't care, pick the entree so I don't even have control over what I'll put in my food hole, and I will eat it.
This sounds to me like a guy who actually really liked his Olive Garden visit and is looking for a reason to get more Olive Garden. Are you doing reverse psychology over here?
Oh, absolutely not. Oh, absolutely not.
And all it takes is Alabama beating Florida State?
I will look.
Okay, sign me up.
Look, here's the thing. The reason is that I will not eat dog shit in a cup. But the closest thing I can think to dog shit in a cup is Olive Garden. So I will do that.
Yeah, I don't trust any Florida State fan that says they're going to eat something if their team loses.
I'll do it right here.
Yeah, you may need to do that
He
for
said
the
if
cosmic
they lose.
energy.
I'm saying if they win.
Yeah.
What is something you
wait? So you're saying if they win?
Yeah. I'll do
Oh,
it.
well, then okay. Well, then I throw that up too. Then I think that the chances of that are definitely not in your favor of having to eat Olive Garden.
No,
So,
I mean, like,
yeah.
it's not like
I
you're
can
going
see now. At first, I was confused of why you throw that out there because
it's a punishment if I win. If they win, I'm doing it to reset.
You are
karma.
not going to be punished if they win. You will eat proudly that Olive Garden.
Yeah.
So,
well,
okay,
I mean,
so this doesn't count. So what can I do to reset karma short of
dog ass?
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
That was a dumb thing that guy did. I'm not going to do
Is
that.
that the
And
Florida
plus it was
State fan?
him.
Yeah.
It was him that did it.
Yeah.
Well, then
He's
watch
the
your
one who
team
upset
suffer
it.
for the next 30 years until
Okay,
somebody in
well-
Tallahassee finally steps up and does what that man said he was going to do.
Yeah. So
All right.
I mean, the best I can offer.
What about
is-
dog ass on Olive Garden spaghetti?
I'm not eating dog.
Okay,
I'm not
just
eating
to
dog
see
shit.
what your response
I'm
to
just
that
not gonna eat
was,
dog shit. I
but-
can't.
What about a cup of urine?
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean,
that went a
better
different
than
direction.
I mean, I'm not into that.
Yeah, I'm really not into you doing any of those
Yeah.
things either, to be perfectly
Yeah.
honest with you. So, if somebody wants to call Paul on that, and you want him to eat whatever you want to off the Olive Garden.
I mean, again, it can't have come out of the pee hole or butthole of another creature.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Well, we're deep
There's
into
a
the
lot
blue
of
here.
really good dishes here. I mean, I'm looking at the menu. There's a lot of great dishes. So, okay, enough of that. Those are bangers. We got to get ourselves in the graphics set better. Texas with the one at third-ranked Ohio State. Now,
so we talking about these games?
Well, let me real quickly. This is from Brett McMurphy. Texas is a 2-point underdog. LSU a 4-point underdog. Notre Dame's a 2.5-point favorite at Miami. And then there's a couple of other games that he had listed, including TCU favored.
Yep, they're favored.
Favored at North Carolina. Auburn favored at Baylor. Boise a touchdown favorite at USF. And Cincinnati is a 6-point underdog to Nebraska. Ohio State, Texas. I can't wait for this one. Looking forward to it.
I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, and we'll get into that game later on because it's not on the bangers list. But I think North Carolina is not going to be very good early on, so I think TCU has a shot to go in there and maybe beat that spread. But Ohio State and Texas, I like Texas to go up there and win this game. This is something historically that when they have teams like this, they do. They go up there and win games like this. There's a lot of questions I have about Texas, comparing last year to this year. Can they run at that same pace with all these new players? But I have faith in the coaching staff being as continuous as it has been over the last couple of years. And the guys they've got coming up the system, that should be fine. I think that they'll be totally fine, and you're not going to see much of a drop-off from Texas. The thing I do wonder about is how many of the opponents from last year that they beat have maybe gotten better in the close games, and does it flip when they go to different places? That's my only question about them. I think Texas wins the game. I do, and I'm very curious to see how Ohio State, does with their abundance of new players, particularly on defense.
That's a really sexy game here in week number 1, but there's a few of them, as you see here. I think Auburn-Baylor's a really fun potential Friday night matchup, and I say potential because, there's always the chance that maybe one of them's way better than the other one. We just don't realize it until we see them out there. But on paper, it seems like a really intriguing and obviously Vegas thinks close matchup in Waco. So that's going to be a fun way to start off Friday night. But there's some good games this weekend. I think for Cincinnati, that's a really important showing against Nebraska, and Nebraska can't afford Cincinnati to roll in there and give them the upset. That would be just disastrous for Matt Rule. But that TCU-UNC game, notable that, there's Belichick and all of that, but that game's going to be the Ireland game next year. I don't know if y'all have mentioned that or not before, or realize that even, but that's the Ireland game next year is TCU, North Carolina, the Aer Lingus. So that'll be fun to see the Frogs and Tar Heels out there this time next year, and talking about whoever won that opening weekend like we have with Iowa State. But this is what you want. You want as many great matchups as possible, and Ohio State, Texas is about as blue blood as it gets. Clemson, LSU ought to be awesome. So, we're set starting on Thursday. Just get the ball rolling for this first full official weekend. Have some great matchups on paper, and I'm sure a lot of great games that on paper maybe don't look that attractive, but will end up being fun, competitive, and who knows, maybe we'll see some upsets that are the likes of which we talk about for years to come. Who knows? That's the fun part, is that we're about to find out, and I'm just so glad that we're here right now.
No, that's it. We have evidence, as I said, to start the show, and we're going to have some even saltier evidence when it comes to what happens after this weekend. And then I did not include in the bangers, that's on me, the Notre Dame game on Sunday against Miami. All right, so there we are with that. When we come back, Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews, his thoughts about just a couple of the nuggets over the weekend, but this weekend and more. What a great magazine that he has. It's on the table where I'm sitting. This is 365 Sports. Ideal. MRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco. And they are now offering $497 or less is something they've been offering since they opened up their doors for an MRI. For a standard MRI where your doctor, orthopedic surgeon, whoever it might be, contacts them and they want to see a better look at your upper spine, your cervical area. They want to see your lumbar, your lower back. They want to see the knee or the shoulder, or even maybe your brain or your abdomen. They want specifically to look at a certain spot, and they'll get all the images you want, all the evidence there one way or the other, hopefully good and not bad, and then also turn around and get that to you and the doctor immediately, $497 or less. But now offering a full body MRI. And the cost is a lot more than just $497 because we're talking from the head to the toes with everything imaginable in between to see just in case there's something that has been overlooked over the years. It is full body MRI, the regular MRI, which is still very impressive, state-of-the-art imaging machine, $497 or less. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners and staff, idealmri.com.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
365 Sports on this Monday after a weekend of some evidence and, of course, heading into a really impressive schedule this weekend. And we just looked at a lot of that. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews. It's the magazine that we have on the table. We've had him on before. It's phenomenal. I love the way it feels and all the spiral part and everything else. He joins us on 365 Sports. Brett, thank you very much. Appreciate you being a part of the show. What was your overall feedback of watching that game that went down to the wire in Dublin, Ireland between Iowa State, K-State?
Hey, guys. Well, thanks for having me on. It's that time of year again. We're kicking off a wide open season. I can't wait. Reactions to Saturday. Yeah, I think it was a little bit of bad coaching and some situational spots by Chris Klieman. A couple short yardage play calls where they're going shotgun. They lost yardage. They couldn't convert. Meanwhile, Iowa State, they did it right. They converted in 3rd and shorts and 4th downs and really got it done when it mattered. So it was out coaching. I think Matt Campbell went and won that game for Iowa State. Yeah, that could end up being a pivotal game in the Big 12 race. I think Kansas State still has a shot, but they got to clean up some of those coaching mistakes.
Do you Do you have any concerns lingering about Kansas State? I mean, they lost the game by 3 points. Do you have any concerns about them lingering after this game?
Well, it's interesting. Coming into the season, I know at Big 12 Media Days, the coaches did a poll, and they picked Kansas State, Iowa State as the 1 versus 2 to go play in the Big 12 title game. I actually had them 6th and 7th in the Big 12. I had Kansas State all the way down at 6th, and I had Iowa State at 7th. I don't think these two are actually the contenders to win the conference. I'd go with the other 5 with Arizona State and Texas Tech and Baylor and Utah and TCU. I think the champ comes from that pool of teams instead of these two that played yesterday in Ireland. So it didn't really change my opinions on either one. I think they're solid teams, you know, top 40, top 25 maybe, but I don't see them either as contenders. And yeah, some of those problems surfaced yesterday. So I thought the Kansas State would get a better run push than they did. I thought their offensive line was going to have the advantage, and they just couldn't get it done. They had a couple fumbles there. I know it was a wet game, a wet playing condition, but still, I thought they'd be able to control the lines of scrimmage. They did not, and that cost them.
Which is a bigger game in your opinion, no matter the ranking? A bigger game for the rest of the season and moving forward? The game in Columbus, Ohio, or the game that's being played in Clemson?
I think the game in Clemson, if you're talking about playoff impact, because I think what you have with Ohio State and Texas, they're both going to be in that playoff bracket. I think we can confidently say that. They're two of the best recruiters out there. It goes to show how much the mindset has shifted now that we've expanded the bracket, where in most years in college football history, they call this game of the century. In fact, it's one of the only games that's ever been a top 3 matchup in the opener, where you have number 1 Texas, number 3 Ohio State. So that used to it would have been one of the biggest games of the season. It still is, but I think both of them have plenty of mulligans in their in their arsenal heading into 2025. With Clemson and LSU, both sides are going to need this one, I think, because LSU is going to be on the fringe as a bubble team for the national bracket. I've got them finishing 10th, and that would be the final at-large spot. So, yeah, I think that they're going to need this game, both sides. So I'm going to say that one's more pivotal for playoff impact come December.
Brett, the Tiger showdown between Clemson and LSU is like every single thing you want in a game. You know, they both call their stadium the same thing. They should probably play more often than this just because of that. They have really solid, if not great, college quarterbacks coming back, guys who could be very high draft picks. They both should be much improved on defense, particularly Clemson getting Tom Allen, I think, is a huge deal. Do you see this game being one that the scoring stays a little low because of the defenses, or do the quarterbacks being so good come out on top here?
I think you see a little bit of point score. I think you see a little bit of high-scoring action. Yeah, you're right. They're kind of mirror images in terms of program personas, the Tigers, Death Valley, and they both even play that same fight song, Tiger Rag. So, yeah, it's a little bit of spy versus spy. But, no, I like it. I think it's going to be awesome. I think with Clemson, you have a very proven program, a very proven roster. They won the ACC last year. They bring back 20 starters. You just know what you're going to get from them with a Dabo team. With LSU, they're the mystery team because – now you're talking a second-year coordinator on defense. They're waiting for that to click with Blake Baker there. The number 1 transfer haul in the country. You know how expensive it is to go and get these top transfers with NIL money, and they went all in this year. So how are all those new players going to click? Can the defense make some gains to be a playoff caliber team? Can that offensive line? It's a new-look offensive line for LSU, and they're going up against one of the best defensive fronts in the country with Clemson. So I'm going Clemson here. I think they should be favored. They're at home. You know, talking about future NFLers too, they're number 2 in terms of 2026 draft picks. I know we're early for a mock, but Clemson's got a ton of pro players there. So I'm going Clemson here. I trust their coaches more. I can already kind of see it now. I picture Brian Kelly again at the podium after the game, whining and crying and you know, slapping his fist on the table there, coming up with some excuse. But I think Clemson's going to win.
Garrett Ross, who's a part of the guys behind the scene that make and help us look good or sound good. He's an LSU fan. He did not disagree with you on that. When Brian Kelly kind of loses, had a little fit and slams his fist in the podium. You have a page. It's page, I think it's 12, win conversion, and BYU, K-State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, UCF are all in the top 12. All of them are a part of the Big 12. Is that those who don't get quite the same talent, but actually do more with what they get?
It's exactly right. Yeah. And in the book, I have all the recruiting information you could want, the 5-year high school trend, the transfer rankings for recruiting. All that's important. And that's really the backbone of a program, but it doesn't stop there. You got to recruit and then you got to coach it up. So I put in there the win conversion and the player development metrics to show the comparison between your high school recruiting ranks compared to what you're actually doing on the field. You got to recruit to within a scheme. You got to coach them up and develop. So, yeah, that's in there. And a lot of the Big 12's on this list because you're not going to find Big 12 programs on National Signing Day with all the hats and signing 5-stars galore. They're more in that top 25, top 40 range of recruiting, but yet they churn out a lot of wins, a lot of NFL draft picks. So those are teams that are on that list. And you think it makes sense when you watch these teams like Iowa State and Kansas State, the two we just saw on Saturday. They're never going to get a top 5 recruiting class nationally, but they will send a lot to the pros. They will grind out wins with their schemes. So, the Big 12 is really well represented on that list.
What did you think of Kansas on Saturday, emphatically beating Fresno State? And it looks like we might have the old Jalen Daniels again.
Yeah, I can't believe it's 2025. We still have Daniels over there. It feels like so long, and unfortunately, part of that is because of injuries that have cut short a lot of his seasons. But he's electric when he's healthy. You saw that again on Saturday, and maybe Kansas might be getting overlooked a little bit. I know we talk about how deep this Big 12 is, but usually the conversation ends around number 7, number 8, and Kansas is projected outside of that pack. But maybe we're missing a little bit of just the sheer coaching that they have with Lance Leipold, one of the best coaches in the game, really, when you look at what he's been able to turn around all over college football, but especially in Kansas, where it was the losingest program of the entire generation and got him back to the bowl stage in 2023. So, that's your coaching play in this wide open conference. Maybe he just coaches them up more than we expected. So, great opening statement, 24-point win. You want to see margins of victory here in the opener, and that's a solid win for them.
There are 12 teams that, of course, were in the playoff last year. First time it had gone to that number. Is there anybody in particular, Brett, among those 12 that might be getting more attention than you think they've earned or deserved?
Yeah, well, I've got one off the top of my head right away. Is if you look at the AP and the coaches preseason poll, they've got Illinois number 12 or number 13 right there as a playoff contender. I'm not buying it at all. In fact, I don't even have them ranked at all. I've got them 35th in the country coming in. And, it was a great coaching job last year by Brett Bielema. A lot of respect for what he's done there. But you look at it, it's a lot of close wins. They barely beat Purdue, the worst team in America last year, barely beat Rutgers, overtime against Nebraska, 6-pointer against Kansas. So long story short, from an advanced stats perspective, this did not look like a 10-win or a playoff dark horse at all. I know they bring back most of the starting lineup, but I think that you've already kind of hit your peak there. There's only 3 4-stars in the whole 2 deep, both sides of the ball, 3 out of 44. So in terms of sheer talent, I don't think they've got the horses. So I'm fading Illinois. I've got them 9th in the Big 10, much less they've got them 13th nationally.
How do you see the ACC shaking out after Clemson?
Yeah, after Clemson, I'm looking at Miami, and it's really the only contender I can come up with. I have it really as a 2-team race, Clemson and Miami. Clemson, we talked about. With Miami, it's the top recruiting program in the conference. Looking at 5-year recruiting and a lot of transfers they brought in. And Mario Cristobal, his ability to build an offensive line is elite. They're going to be one of the best offensive lines in the country yet again. And what I looked at was what they did on defense, because we all watched it last year. They had an excellent offense, but the defense cost them a playoff spot. They blew a 21-0 lead against Syracuse there. They attacked that problem. They hired Corey Heatherman from Minnesota, who did great work there.
We lose him?
In Charlotte. If you're looking for a dark horse, though, and you're looking at scheduling, look at Georgia Tech, because now that we don't have divisions in these mega conferences, it's all about schedule draw. And they draw 7 of the bottom 10 in the conference. So I think they're, a solid top 25 caliber team. But with that kind of schedule, they might go 7-1 in the conference and be right there in the thick of it in a tiebreak scenario. So scheduling's huge. Maybe look at Georgia Tech as a wild card.
Brett, we've asked you this before. I think I did when we had you on when the magazine was released for the summer about how you handle game days. You put so much effort into this book or this magazine and all of what you do. And then here comes the season.
last weekend there was just a handful of games. This weekend, go over your day for me and kind of how you will get yourself together and watch everything from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it really does shift. I mean, you're right. The 6 or 7 months from January to July, it's all about writing and researching and putting together the magazine. August is all about the radio and podcasts, and it's been great to be on the show with you guys so much. But then once toe meets leather, it's a whole new ball game. The weekly schedule really shifts. So Saturdays, I have 4 screens going for 13 hours. I mean, you're talking from noon kickoff all the way till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. with those West Coast games finishing up. I try and absorb as much as I can real time. Like that's 4 screens nonstop. Sunday, I'm running my advanced numbers. I'm refreshing all my data, looking at some condensed games that maybe I couldn't get to watch live, reading the game reports, all that stuff. And then Monday, I put together my weekly info package. It's called Pick 6 Plus, and it's all the information you love in the magazine and more. It's got more betting trends, against the spread stuff, situational splits, basically running all the data and sending that out Monday, Tuesday to all the subscribers. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's back to some writing. I do some weekly writing for KSL, covering BYU and Utah, radio all week, talking about the matchups coming up. And then we do it again Saturday morning. So it's the best time of year. It's like a mile a minute, though. It's really, going 60 miles an hour, but I love it. It's the best time of year.
Yeah, BYU, of course, coming off that really nice run. Looks like they feel good with Bachmeier. And then Utah, it's like everyone did we learn from them last year that last year was a fluke, or do you feel like, no, they're going to be just fine this year? Or have they hit the wall?
I got to tell you, I've never seen a program suffer more injuries than what Utah has gone through the last 2 years. And, that may sound like an excuse to some, and they'll say, hey, you got to recruit better and have better depth. But I'm telling you, in 2023, I think it was like 60 or 70% of their 2-deep was knocked out for the year. It was unbelievable. Kyle Whittingham called it the twilight zone. He'd never seen anything like it. And then last year, it happened again, but only at one position. It was right at quarterback, where Cam Rising got thrown into the Gatorade coolers in that Baylor game. And since then, I think they were on to their fifth string quarterback most of the year. So long story short, I think finally they'll get some injury luck, you think, knock on wood. But they've installed a whole new offense, too. It's going to look a lot different. This dynamic rushing attack from New Mexico. They brought the coordinator and their quarterback combo package with Devin Dampier coming in. You're going to get a solid Utah defense. They've been excellent every year the last 20 years. So what you have on that side. It's just, can this offense click? They've got a strong offensive line to run behind. Looks like maybe lacking at receivers, so they need some playmakers to emerge there. But I see them as a top 25 team. I think they deserve a ranking, and the AP and the coaches might have missed on them. So I like them as a dark horse to win the conference.
Brett, thank you, man. Great to have you on. Enjoy all those screens and televisions and hours upon hours of digesting college football. It is here after last weekend and big time coming up this weekend. Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 preview twice today on this show. We will hear from somebody that was overseas in Europe. And earlier, Jamie Pollard, Iowa State Director of Athletics. And coming up next, he's back, Phil Bennett, 365 Sports.
In advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
Last time we spoke with longtime college football coach, God, it's just like we look back at an old segment. There you are with that gorgeous backyard in College Station, Texas. How was the trip?
It was wonderful. You know, it's sort of a deal. Julie and I, with our 20th anniversary, we tried to pack a lot of things in a little over 2 weeks. And I'm telling you something, though, Smoke, jet lag is real. It's real.
Hey, Phil, I heard Taylor Swift say that jet lag is a choice.
Oh, listen. I'm going to have to call BS on that, Paul. but I will say this. Taylor is not 70 years old either.
And she did you fly private like she does?
No, but we did have some great upper end seats. But I don't care. I can't sleep on the plane, though. Thank God on the way back, I got to watch the Iowa State, Kansas State, Incarnate Word, Nickel State game, so it kept me occupied.
So Kansas State, Iowa State was a fantastic game. Rugby weather that they played in that rain all the time. What did you think about how Iowa State executed, especially towards the end of that game, and really made all the right choices coaching-wise down the line?
Paul, I thought, number one, that both of them had to really change their game plan a little bit with the rain in the first half. Neither one of them could really get a groove on either side of the ball. And I thought the second half, both of them made great adjustments, and it was an exciting game. I thought that, number one, I thought you could see that Iowa State had won last year. I mean, they played their quarterback, their receivers. They played with great confidence. And I really liked Kansas State when they got behind. They made the big plays. And Iowa State doesn't give up a bunch of huge pass plays. And they gave up 2 plays to make it a hell of a game. I felt for Kansas State because I thought the 4th down call was the right call. The coach was trying to be creative. He was trying to make something happen. It didn't happen. Ended up hurting them, and it was a tough game. It was a tough loss. I've coached at both those schools, and I know the rivalry, and I know that lately Iowa State has had K-State's number, but I don't think it will be reflective of either one of them's season. I think there's still a lot of football to play.
For sure, Coach. Good to talk to you again. I was curious, just sort of big picture, when did Matt Campbell first get on your radar, just maybe hearing about this guy or seeing him? And how surprised are you that he's in year 10 now at Iowa State after all these years of people assuming he would go somewhere else? And I think you see that in that culture, getting wins like that. If he's in his second year, they probably don't win that game, but it's just kind of what they do now in Ames, Iowa.
Craig, when we played them the last year I was up there, I don't know if you remember that game, but they jumped out on us like crazy. Of course, we had watched their tapes when he was at Toledo. He's a Mount Union guy. So when you're at Mount Union, number one, you're used to winning. And he did a great job at Toledo. And people really don't. I tell people this. They said, how come bigger schools haven't taken him? Well, let me tell you something. Ames, Iowa is a wonderful place. They've got unbelievable support. I truly believe it's one of the better jobs around because of their support base. The fans are into football and basketball. And I think that's probably why Matt stayed there. He liked the commitment. It's a great community. And you listen to him when he speaks. He's not a guy that I don't think he's looking for superficial things, saying, hey, this is a blue chip job or a blue blood job. He's looking for a place that he can win and win consistently. Y'all said earlier you talked to Jamie Pollard. Yep. Jamie's giving him a lot of those things that he needs. Their setup right now is second to none with anybody in Power 4.
Who has the more difficult coaching job this week? Matt Campbell, because of everyone, they win and they're both coming back from a long trip, or Chris Kleiman when everyone's like their tongues down to the floor stepping on it because of the loss?
I think Smoak, just because of the loss and the fact that Chris has not won some of the big games that K-State is accustomed to winning. He has a new offensive coordinator in Matt Wells, a lot of question marks. And then top it off, you got your fight, your family fight after the game. Just a week of confusion. But let me say this. I think Chris is a sharp guy. I think he's a really good leader. And I think he will make this a positive situation. Now, Matt Campbell, he knows, everybody wants to, crown them right now. It's going to be them and Arizona State or them and Baylor. But, he knows that it's one game. It was a good win, no doubt about it. But you got a full season to play.
You have been there, obviously, had the great run at K-State with Coach Snyder and company. Craig mentioned this earlier when you had the off-the-field scuffle after the game and Dylan Edwards, was he hurt or not? They don't have drama much. They don't really have it, and it's because of what Snyder built. Did that surprise you that there's been a little bit of that extracurricular drama after this?
What surprised me is some of the fans.
They're pissed. Yeah.
Maybe I was we were good enough. I mean, we won a lot when I was there, and I didn't. And I don't listen to it either. But I see stuff from some of their fans, some of them that I actually know, and it was very disappointing to me. About Dylan Edwards. Did he quit? Listen, if that kid could have played, he would have played. I mean, I have no doubt. I mean, I would never even think that. But I just worry about sometimes the fans take that's not like these players and coaches are. And I think right now at K-State, everybody wants to blame the quarterback, who I thought really played good, regardless. And it was a very unfortunate situation with the best of them past that.
Coach, I know that you have had players quit in a game on you before. It happens over time. I can think of one story I don't want to bring up because I don't want to bring the kid's name up. He's been through enough, but that I knew personally, we watched happen. And it's always a weird, what's the best way to deal with it so that you can get the most out of the kid if he does? I never even thought that about Dylan Edwards. And then all of a sudden he's tweeting out that, like, I didn't quit in the game. I was like, well, I didn't think about it when it happened, but now I kind of think that you might have.
I think we put there's so much information out there today. When I played, and most of the time I coached, especially in the Bill Snyder program, very little information ever got out. So I've never had a kid that I thought, hey, you know what, I've had kids that played better than others, but I will say this. I'm always of the Bob Knight philosophy. A coach's best friend is the bench. So if he's not going to play, let's put his ass on the bench.
Coach, was there anything else that caught your eye from this past weekend before we move into anything from this weekend?
I thought that Kansas was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
People say, well, it was Fresno State. Trust me, I played Fresno State enough at good schools and schools even. I mean, they're talented. And I thought Kansas on both sides of the ball went out and really, I think they might be a team that gets better and better if they can stay healthy. I like the possibilities. It's sort of like us a couple of years ago. Opened a new stadium, got a lot to play for. Some good things happening there.
Yeah, and there's a big one at that stadium we'll ask you about, I'm sure. I do want to ask you about the biggest game of the weekend, though, and let's just get it right out there. Texas, Ohio State in Columbus, number 1, number 3, 11 a.m. I mean, all the talent in the world. Interesting coaching matchup. Any feel, any just sort of storylines that come to mind for you? Obviously, Arch Manning's big, not debut, but it's his team now. Just it's as big as it gets, right? Ohio State, Texas to start the season?
It's big time. You go back, I don't know what year it was. Maybe y'all can tell me. I can remember when Vince Young was there.
05.
And Mac was coaching. And what year was it?
2005 when they went on to win it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and they went up there and they really played well. And I look at – this is what I look at. I look at both teams are replacing quarterbacks. They're going to have good quarterbacks. The matchup where I like Texas is his staff, Sarkisian's staff, has stayed together. They know what they've got. They've recruited those kids. Their philosophy on both sides of the ball is sound. I think they'll be a little bit different on offense with Arch Manning because he's a little bit different player than you. And I think Sark knows that, and that will give him a few more weapons. Because I remember when I had played him, I played him when he had Carson Palmer at USC. Then I played him when he had the quarterback that was a mover and shaker at Washington. I think he does a good job of adapting to what he has. Now, my concern for Ohio State is they've got 2 new coordinators. They have a coordinator on defense that has never coached in college football. It's a different game. It's different rules. It's different hashes. I'm just not sure that this is a great game for a new coordinator to get acclimated in. Ryan Day reappointed a wide receiver coach that he had delegated lower away from the coordinator job on offense. Is he going to call plays? So I just don't know the continuity of what is going on at Ohio State. I know they have good players. I know they've got a really good receiver. They had a little bit of a quarterback battle, but I do. I like Texas in this game, and I think you're going to see a Texas team that really could be a team that could be similar to the 2005 team.
Friday night in Waco, it's Auburn. Hugh Freeze likes to get the big play against Aranda with what he's done last year, first year he called defense. There's a comment in an article on Yahoo Sports by Ross Dellinger. I'm going to read this to you and tell me what you think. Aranda explains that he has installed more defensive play calls this offseason than he has in any other year of his coaching career. Last season, his first call in the defense in 5 years, he learned a hard truth. His defense, for years heralded as one of the most innovative in football, failed to evolve with its offensive counterpart.
I think that's probably an assessment from Dave that maybe some of the ways that offenses are attacking defenses, his matchups weren't as good as they were in the past. Now, that's forever changing. And I think for him to say that, I always thought it. There were I felt myself evolving. I'd always said I'll never do a 3-man front. You evolve, and you can't stay the same because the guys that have the ball have the initiative to score are making you change. And I would agree what Dave is saying. Now, I like the fact I told you I was there in the spring. I saw his involvement. He is going to be the defensive coordinator, which I think is a very good thing for Baylor. I think that you look at what he's playing against Auburn, he's going to play, I would be very surprised if you didn't see a high pressure on Baylor's defense against Jackson Arnold, because you go back and you watch the things that hurt Oklahoma last year is Jackson was not very good with pressure. I think last year Auburn, except for the A&M game, couldn't throw the ball vertical. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
It's fine. I'm not a coach, but I would watch defenses. Like I remember the 4-2-5 was first out, and it seemed like people figured it out pretty quickly because they're like, "Oh, great, no third linebacker. We're gonna run a lot of draws, and we're gonna do all these different things." And then things change. The 3-3-5 stack has been such a revelation, and I would have never thought that would work, where you take size off the field essentially in that kind of a defense, but. Given the fact that, and you were with one of the innovators of it, coaches are using the whole field now in a way that they haven't. You could play playing 2 down linemen in 5 years, and that could be the best thing for you. God only knows, right, Phil?
Paul, one of the things about football, it is a matchup game. And, people say, the spread, 4 wides, no back, sideline to sideline, and that's one way. Now, the thing that happens with the 3-3-5, what happened at TCU to get them out of it was 2 tights, whether it be 12 personnel or 22 personnel, you've got some issues. The whole game of football is a numbers game. It's a matchup game. And if you can create matchups, you're going to be okay. And whoever has those odds is now. And then it comes down. Defensively, can you get guys in position to make plays, make tackles, defend the pass? It becomes fundamentals. But what you're saying is exactly right. It evolves. You watched the other day, somebody was telling me, if this guy keeps running the 3-3-5, we're never going to stop the run. 3-3-5, in my opinion, if you're a one-back team, it's a nice package. But when you put a fullback, another tight end in, you've got some issues about numbers and matchups.
So how was Normandy? Did you get to go by there?
Oh, listen, let me tell you something. It took me 2 days to get over that. I mean, you have a sense of pride of our country, what we did, the French people, the Omaha Beach, the atmosphere. I wish I would have sent you some pictures earlier. It was a pride, but also eerie. We left over 9,300 American soldiers there, 9,300, and maybe up to 5,000 that are unaccounted for. And you talk about people say, freedom's not free. Well, go to Normandy and you'll feel it and you'll appreciate it. And somebody asked me, would you wish you would have gone earlier? I've always thought, I've been a history buff, but I just knew the history of it and the odds that we were facing. When I talk about football, numbers and angles, hey, those guys knew. They knew that, hey, when they got off that boat, probably a 3-1 chance I'm not coming back. And what they did for us and the continent of Europe with Mussolini and Hitler, it was a nostalgic feeling and very prideful.
When you make that trip, you were there a long time. Do you forget what day it is?
Oh, you know what you forget? Did I drink Pinot last night, or or did I drink cab? You know, that. But I will tell you, I worked out every day. I mean, Eiffel Tower. I mean, Julie told me, she said, I was worried about working out. We walked. I mean, we went to Rome. We went to the Colosseum, and we walked and we walked. And I will say this. These maps on the phones are BS. They don't work. You know, she says, it's only a 15-minute walk. Somehow we made those 15-minute walks into 45.
Yeah. And she walks.
Finally, I said, to hell with that. We're calling an Uber.
Yeah. And she is in great shape. She walks the dogs every morning, right?
Every morning. And gets up and does yoga at 5:30.
Yep. And I know you are working out all the time with that almost like the gym inside of your home. Yeah. What other note about you've coached at all the conferences, you've coached in the SEC and all that. A quote from Miranda. You're trying to execute stuff in the game, and the people that you're playing know what you're in. I never acknowledge the beaters as much as I do here. Maybe it's because we had erasers at LSU. In other words, talking about the players he had defensively compared to, like, it's a different animal a lot of times on the defensive side of the football. True or not?
I think yearly it comes and goes. Now, let's be honest. The SEC, they spend the most money. They pay the most money, most rabid fans, but it's not always. I can remember I'll never forget this, and I think it was 14 that we beat. It was that the year that we beat Oklahoma so bad. 50 to 14 or something. That's the year that they went to they went to the Sugar Bowl and just beat the stuffing out of Alabama. And I remember I told somebody, I said, every game is a different animal. Now, what I do believe, I think what Dave was saying, during his tenure, he had some guys that, you know, it's like a friend told me one time when I first got in it. He said, man, it's good to have great players and, you know, you get them in the right position. He said, but you know what's better? He said, it's really good to have great players when you screw it up and they still make the play. Mm-hmm. And so that might be what he's saying. And we've all had that. It's, you know, some people say, you know, it's a Jimmy and Joe game. It's not X's and O's. Well, I'm here to tell you, in today's football, X's and O's matter. Coaching matters. And you know, when you're pretty much even, like a lot of these teams in the Big 12, I agree with Dave 100%. These scheme beaters, you better have answers for it.
One question from the chat room, and you've been on both sides of this. You've been on a staff where guys around you have been told they're not coming back or have been fired. You've been fired. You've had to fire others as well. It's part of the business. How difficult are those moments, or is it just where everybody kind of knows it's going to happen?
I've told my son-in-law, when you get into this business, especially at the college or pro level, the thing you better understand, you can't run scared. And it's unfortunate. You ask me how hard it is. I've said this many times, I've never had a bad job. I worked with great people. I admired and respected everybody. I was fortunate. I don't have any coaching horror stories, but I have been fired. I've been fired individually, and I've been fired one time, and I've been fired with a staff. It's hard. It affects a lot of people. When you care about the people that you're working with, you know they're good coaches, they're good people, and it doesn't work out, it's hard. But at the same time, you know that they made it there for a reason, and they'll evolve. And that's what you have to do. You have to, and you can't walk around crying about what happened. You got to move on.
Yep. Thank you very much. That was a question in the chat room. It's great to see you. Anyone else have anything for Coach?
Nope.
Enjoy. I'm glad
it's starting, guys.
Yeah,
We're excited.
Is. We got games coming up as early as Thursday, and of course, a huge weekend with some of the bangers, as we call them. And great to have you back in the country.
Thank you, guys.
Julie had a great week, a great 2 weeks, and
Yeah, right.
Get through that jet lag.
All right, my man.
That's Phil Bennett. Bye-bye. Phil Bennett with us, back from Europe, Normandy, the Eiffel Tower, and how the phone maps, they don't work. You imagine get lost many times from how far. I wonder if it's because he was doing kilometers or miles rather than kilometers.
I mean, it just tells you the time.
Yeah, no, that's right. It doesn't say
mean,
that.
This
That's
is
exactly
like you can
right.
look
Yeah.
at the thing. I think part of the reason that Rome, like there's a new city built around the old city, so I think that it's probably going to be confusing sometimes. You can walk on a street that looks like it's today, and then you turn the corner and you're 3,000 years ago.
Yeah,
just like that. So.
Yeah, a lot of old history over there. It'd be cool to see that. I know when I've seen pictures of Normandy Beach, it doesn't look the way that it looks like on Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
And it looks like there's like big mountains. There's an elevation, but it's not quite like the way it looks in the movie. So to be able to see that up close and personal and have more of a feel for what thousands of American soldiers saw, and some people for the last time, not just some, a lot for the last time, was one of the last things they saw. That has to be pretty just unique feeling to be walking amongst all that history. But I guess we're the only ones that don't go to Europe the last few days, or haven't gone to Europe here recently. You got Iowa State out there, K-State out there, Phil Bennett's out there, everybody going over to Europe. But sounds like it was a successful trip, and I would love to be able to roll through France or places like that and see sites like Normandy Beach.
You would have to be able to have some time. You can't go there. It's not like a little 3-day weekend. You'd have to have like what he did with a couple of weeks.
You can't do our work trips where it's literally like, hey, our going out and seeing the town is at dinner.
We go like, oh, hey, look, there's that. Like Smokey and I walked past the 9/11 memorial.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't done yet, but we got to like see it one time when we were there. I've since seen it since it's been finished because I went on vacation there and got to see it, which was great. But I always think about this about Normandy. The thing that, like, I know the day of obviously is the most terrifying thing you can think of if you're a soldier, if you're anybody in one of those planes, in one of those boats. Like, but can you imagine sitting in the room with the generals when they lay out the plan? And you say, we're going to do what now? Like that comes across you, like trying to wrap your head around, okay, I know this is what we're going to do. I know I trust our leadership that this is the right thing. But this just initially it sounds like, so they're on the beach and we're in the water and in the sky. They know that we're probably going to be coming and we're just going to run at them and just keep coming and coming and coming. And do that, and we're going to jump out of planes and be like you're sitting ducks at all these times
in a parachute.
The Germans didn't know they were coming, though.
Yeah.
They were surprised by it.
Yeah, but like, they may know we're coming, or as soon as they figure out we're coming, like we're still kind of at a disadvantage because, they're on land.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like just in war in general, like Normandy or wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, like as soon as they know that we're there, like once the secret's out, it's still going to be really hard. So this is only going to be a secret for a minute. And
how many of us would get in that would be able to today with who we are today and be able to get into one of those boats as it opens up the gate to go into the water? It would. I mean, hey,
you got to do it though. Like I know what y'all are saying, but like that's what those guys had to do, and so they just did it. They didn't have a choice in it. They were 18 years old, thrown in that boat, and said, "Hey, go take the beach and go give us some inroads so that we can spread our wings and entrench ourselves and get into these countries that we need to go defeat the Nazis." So, I mean, it was the greatest generation, coined that way for a reason. But, I can imagine that was nightmarish. And Saving Private Ryan does about as good of a job as a movie I would think can do to try to make that as realistic as possible. For better or worse, because you hear the stories of vets who went and watched that in the theaters at the time and had to walk out during the opening scenes because it was too realistic. And even then it probably doesn't even scratch the surface of what it was actually like, because you can't really feel those emotions. But that's a cool trip. Like I said, I would love to be able to. I like Google Maps is like really badass. I mean, it really is, like the stuff you can see as well as you could possibly see it without actually being there. So I've gone and looked at Normandy to try to see. Yeah. And the hills aren't, like I said, at least on there, it's not as high. I'm sure it's much different in person, because when you're watching the movie, it feels like it's like big mountains almost. and it's not quite like that based on what I've seen. But I'll defer to those like Phil that have been there and experienced that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have him back on the show, though. I'm glad to be talking football. I have one thought I'd want to get out before we leave here today. Love the Iowa State uniforms. Love the script helmet. They had black script. They've worn with their black and white uniforms, and those are fine.
Mm-hmm.
And script helmets over the last year became very, very fashionable. So you saw a lot of schools that started wearing those all of a sudden. But I thought that they, in particular, with the red script helmets or the red helmets with the script on it and just that combination, I thought they looked really sharp. I like that look.
Iowa State has a very good eye. Like the Jack Trice uniforms they wore were awesome with the Ames helmet. They've got a good eye. They haven't had many. Some like everybody's going to probably have one uniform dud that they get all excited about.
Well, they have the USC carbon copies. They got the template that USC had.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you see Nike had the templates that like Baylor and a few other teams all had the same exact uniforms except for the coloring on it. But yeah, they've had some. I didn't love the USC ripoffs. Those were a little bit too like McDonald's looking, like mustard and ketchup. But this little, and like I say that, and I think Iowa State has that template I'm talking about with the shoulder stripes. I think they might have followed suit to some degree, but I like that look on Saturday. I thought those helmets looked really, really good on those jersey and pant combos, and so I thought they won in style as well on Saturday.
Yeah, it
just something random, but something I had on my mind.
I'm not a big uniform aficionado, so to speak, but I know when some look good and when they don't. It's pretty obvious, and I thought that was a good look. Wasn't it Matt Campbell who had left the press conference after the game, then came back because Gene Taylor had made a comment about their elbow?
Yeah, there was some comment about Iowa State wears like different colors. I don't know. I saw it in passing, and it seemed like the headline made it a bigger deal than it actually was. Imagine that. Gene Taylor, all capitals, scorched earth on, that kind of thing, that garbage. But no, Matt Campbell had some quip about it, and I did not retain whatever it was that he said because it just didn't register with me. But yeah, there was some little back and forth about a comment there.
It's not a note that we put up on a graphic, but I did see this note that Texas Tech offensive lineman Cash Cleveland, who was a freshman All-American,
better be good,
Colorado, is out until maybe the third week.
Okay,
offensive lineman from Tech, who's a Colorado freshman All-American, could be out. According to the report I saw, and it was from someone who covers Tech for the game with Oregon State in Week 3.
Yeah, I mean the Oregon State game could get dicey, but they don't. I don't think they'll need him the first couple of games. I think we've talked about they've got a pretty good ramp up to conference play. So that's the Colorado transfer, another one of their big gets in their portal haul that they went and got this offseason. So that was a big get for them, especially right there in the middle of your line. So that's not ideal, but I mean, you say 3 weeks, if he's back by Oregon State, then I don't think that they even notice that he's gone, to be perfectly honest with you, because let me go back. Yeah, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Kent State.
No, they get to do whatever they want.
If he's back by Oregon State, and then you've got a trip to Utah after that's when I think that'll be much more important. That's not great. You'd like him to be able to play, but if it's only a couple week thing, then that's not a big deal in the long run. Hopefully, I don't want to get clarification on the Matt Campbell thing. Gene Taylor had reportedly joked at a pep rally about Iowa State's use of black uniforms. And Campbell said after the game, we don't really, or I guess somebody asked about, somebody was talking to Rocco Beck and he interrupted.
Yeah, he came back after he had left where the coaches are first up and then came back and
he came back and said, we don't really care what color we wear. It's never been about a jersey color for us. It's never been about any of that. It's about team togetherness and playing winning football. It is Coach Cliche season because we're going to get all that stuff too.
It always seems like there's these possible carriage disputes that go on right before something's important. Fox and YouTube TV are in a carriage dispute ahead of college football. The deadline to reach an agreement is Wednesday at 5 Eastern. That would affect the Texas-Ohio State game.
And then also Auburn and Baylor. Both of them are games on Fox. I'm not sure exactly what we see that a lot. We see that a lot. So don't panic, but that's the story. And we see these things, and you'll start to get like messages on your screen, whether it's from cable or whatever. But that's one with YouTube TV. And that's what I watch. I watch my TV 90% of the time on YouTube TV.
I'm sure that'll be solved by the end of the week. I feel like we have one of these every year, and it inevitably always gets solved like the Saturday morning of or the Friday night before. I don't know much about this. I don't have any of the stuff that I need to be worried about because I have a different carrier. But, yeah, I guess that's something to pay attention to. But if it's like most of these other stories exactly like this, I would imagine you'll get word Friday evening that, surprise, YouTube TV has come to an agreement with so-and-so, and you're going to be able to watch your games. And, if not, then I'll eat that on Monday. But, yeah, I guess that's notable for some people out there.
Yep. All right. When we come back, Paul Catalina at his top 5, Andrew Valade with a couple of the polls. We'll look at the results for those of you who are watching us on YouTube. If you haven't, subscribe to our channel. We would appreciate that. Also, hit the like button when you can. I just went to Twitter. A lot of you watching us on Twitter. We appreciate you for that. Thanks to not Dover, but I have not said their names yet today. Brandon Rowe, Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade, and all of you who have helped us behind the scenes with what you do and the content and slamming it out in the atmosphere so everybody can see what we do every day. And we even have, my God, we did not have the red carpet for Faith Lynch when she walked in the studio earlier today.
She didn't tell us she was coming.
Well, I mean, you have to. You can't when you're her.
Look, if Putin gets one, I think Faith should get one.
No,
I'll just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. Yeah, good to have Faith here as always, and we got quite the team that's been built up. So good to be here and have all that help with football season. And I think this is going to be much more enjoyable because we're going to be able to be a little bit looser as far as our Saturdays go and things like that. We're not going to be gridlocked and feeling like it's a chore as opposed to like enjoying it, because that's kind of sometimes how I felt last year. Just felt like it all just sort of mushed together. But I'm feeling great about where we are this year. And I do want to ask, because we got like 3 minutes, give or take, but did anything jump out to y'all? I mean, Kansas was very, very impressive. UNLV by the skin of their teeth.
Incarnate Word getting knocked out.
Word. Yeah. I actually, of all the games on TV, that's the one I watched the second most behind Iowa State and Kansas State, because it came on afterwards. And so I was sitting there mid-afternoon like, I'm watching Incarnate Word, I guess. And, they got beat up pretty good.
Yep, that was one. And you mentioned UNLV, a bunch of 1,000 yards or whatever combined, but they found a way, and that's a work in progress with Dan Mullen and his football team.
How about Hawaii?
I was going to say that.
Great win. Boy, Stanford.
Okay, the story on the kicker is wild.
Yep.
He's from Japan.
Yep.
He learned how to speak English and kick on YouTube.
Yep.
Like, that's how he did it. And they won the game there. So, and the week after they announced that they're finally going to build a new stadium, redo Aloha Stadium there, which is when you're in Honolulu, you're driving on the highway, you drive past it, and it's like the biggest eyesore in Hawaii right now. And
I've been there. I went to an NFL All-Star game one year coming back.
And if it shows you how long things take to get done when government's involved. So they finally got it done. So a couple years from now, they'll have a new stadium that's not condemned, that I'm sure will look great. And then maybe the Pro Bowl can go back there.
I actually went there on the way back from Japan in 1976 or so and saw that Aloha Stadium.
I bet nothing's changed since then. But it's all the exact same as 45 years ago.
One note, and I want to read this because it's impressive. John Cougar Truth in the chat room on Normandy and all of that. My late dad.
Hold on. Normandy?
Normandy, excuse me. Normandy's a school down near Bryan College Station. My late dad lived through both Normandy and the Bulge and Bastogne. I was so blessed he survived. He didn't meet my oldest brother until he was almost 3 years old.
What company was he in?
What do you think, an Easy Company?
Well, Easy Fox. I mean, like those who were. Yeah, that's who did both those things.
To make it through both those are pretty low odds. So that's pretty exceptional. And pretty cool and also terrifying simultaneously to make it through all that. But
let's see if he responds by the time we come back.
Just curious, because the infantry, those groups, I've always been fascinated with all of them. I mean, obviously Easy Company's the famous one, but just that whole undertaking. Bastogne, as bad as Normandy was, at least it was warm.
Bastogne was my nightmare based off Band of Brothers and just being that cold with nothing supply wise, basically making
just
it to you.
Sitting in a hole in the mud.
Yeah, that would be
in the woods. That's what they were doing. That's amazing.
Tarleton State is another team that somebody brought up in the chat room. They just mauled Portland State. Great win for Todd Whitten and company.
They looked really good. Their program's obviously in a great place, and they're trying to make their moves upward. But I mean, they're in a hotbed of recruiting, and so they seem to be like they're in a really good spot. So that score jumped out to me as well. Going back to kind of why I brought this up was games like that. So appreciate you bringing up Tarleton, because I definitely watched a bit of that game. But also I was watching some UC Davis. I was watching a bunch of games. I don't know if I'll be watching those teams as much moving forward because we'll have so many more options, but that was a horrifically ugly loss for a Stanford program that's already just kind of in blah, blah, blah territory as it is. Not a well-coached game and a long trip and a bad loss.
How many have they lost?
To Hawaii.
Yeah, Stanford's going to struggle, you would think, to win.
Well, after that showing to start the season off, that's not. I mean, that's a game you thought you'd probably go and win, but no, not so fast. So I don't know how that shines light on what the rest of the season will look like, but not ideal start.
So our good friends at Tarleton State, I'm glad somebody brought that up. Who was it that brought that up? James Hurley, the doctor, the president at Tarleton. Smokey, I'd love to jump on the show. This is from over the weekend to discuss the new $125 million EECU Center. We just opened, record enrollment, and, of course, some football. That's from President Hurley and Steve Urias, the AD, who have done a great job at Tarleton. So I'm glad that Tarleton was brought up in the chat room, and we'll get one of those guys on here. Not this week. Too much going on, but we will get them on for an update from Tarleton. Paul Catalina, top 5 in the poll results from Andrew Valade coming up next, 365 Sports.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome in. We're finishing off the preseason Cadillac list here on the top 5 with the cornerbacks. I know that we had football this weekend, but got to finish the list. We finish what we start here, and if we have a good pun, we run it into the ground, people. And this will also be the last time I get to do this. Well, potentially. This segment brought to you by our good friends at flagandanthem.com. If you would like to look smooth, smart, neato, keno, crackerjack, then go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports. Show it off to your dame or your fella, whatever you choose. flagandanthem.com. All right, let's talk cornerbacks. They are last because that's just the order I did these in. Number 5, Jacario Davis at Washington. Formerly in the Big 12 at Arizona. Followed his former coach after a year of staying with Brent Brennan to Washington. He is now with Jed Fish in Washington. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the country. Came in a little lower on a lot of the preseason All-American lists than I thought, but a dominant player. Kind of still shocked he didn't wind up at Texas, but back at Washington, helping them reestablish who they were. This guy should have a bunch of plays this year. Number 4, D'Angelo Pons at Indiana. Second Indiana player on this list. Kurt Cignetti's built a really strong defense. D'Angelo Pons is a likely first-round pick next year. He can get after the ball. He really good intercepting the ball, going after fumbles and all that. Great with the ball in his hands as a DB as well. Number 3, Chandler Rivers at Duke. Agent Zero here. Manny Diaz loves cornerbacks like this. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. He can actually even play a little bit of safety if you needed him to, but he can move him around the defense. He can match up with a lot of receivers, and he's a good tackler. Plus, he helps create turnovers. Manny Diaz special right here in Chandler Rivers from Duke. Number 2, Leonard Moore at Notre Dame. These next 2 on every preseason All-American list I looked at, everything. You know, I try to put my own spin on it. When I do these things, I don't completely follow, every pundit or all that. I use that as information to gather and make my own decisions on what I think and how I assess it. But there's no other way to look at this. Pretty much everybody agrees that these top 2 are the top 2 cornerbacks in the nation this year. Leonard Moore at Notre Dame plays for a defensive genius in Marcus Freeman that really moves his defensive backs around well and has them highlighted all over the defense. Lets them create, gives them some freedom. Benjamin Morrison was supposed to be on the other side of Leonard Moore last year for the lion's share of the year and was not. And Leonard Moore didn't miss a beat without that superstar across from him. He might have even been better than Benjamin Morrison, and Benjamin Morrison is a damn good player. Number 1, hands down, the best pure cornerback in the country, Jermod McCoy at Tennessee. He is a bright spot for the Vols. You will hear his name a lot in 2025. He will make picks. He will score touchdowns on those picks. He will stop big plays. That's what he's there for, and that's what he will do at Rocky Top. That's going to do it for us. We've got this week's first polls right now.
All right. I know that of all the school songs or whatever, the Rocky Top still to me is the one that seems like it gets me in a pretty good mood.
It's the only one I think the name of is the only one I hear you mention ever, when it comes to school songs.
Country Roads.
Country Roads with obviously West
I know
Virginia.
there's a lot of John Denver influence here, but
the Boomer Sooner and all that, Eyes of Tech. But I just that the Rocky,
get ready, buddy. About to hear a whole lot of Boomer Sooner coming up. Every first down, every noticeable thing that's positive.
Oh, my God.
Didn't hear it a lot last year, but hopefully we'll hear it a lot this year.
John Peterson said his father was in the 2nd Army under Bradley.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow. Omar, right?
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, John, for sharing that. All right.
You never know what kind of connections you're going to make.
No, and we have a lot of our chat room that's served. And I mean,
so I had an uncle, my Uncle Willie, and he was a World War II veteran. He had Silver Star, all those things. He was in the Audie Murphy unit.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found that out, I felt bad because I'm such a history buff as a kid. I was like, you want to ask him about it, but they don't really want to talk about it the way that you want to. My dad didn't want to talk about Vietnam all that much, but it was still interesting to know that.
No, it is. It's just to listen. Then when they're ready to talk, they will talk. Andrew Valade, how do you feel about the fake injuries rule? In fact, brought that up about it. Did happen during Iowa State, K-State. 68%. I mean, blowout city. Finally, about time, and everyone else just sitting there at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people picking apart the way it was applied because Iowa State had a guy who probably was actually legit hurt and just the timing of it all, but they got penalized for it. So I guess it'll just be the way that it's sort of applied, and we'll have to see it in action a little bit more. But I know that there was some reaction that I saw that wasn't terribly fond of it to start. But I think you had to do something because it was clear that guys were orchestrating this. I mean, it was abundantly clear. So I'm on the finally about time side. I do believe that number 4 is still going to happen. Like, there will still be people finding ways, and I'm sure there's staffs that have spent all offseason trying to figure out, well, we can't do this, so what can we do?
Yep.
So that's still going to come into play too. So I'd have to multiple answer this. And all 4 of them might be right in a way, but I am glad they at least have addressed it because it was obvious.
Okay, so sometimes a few bad apples can spoil the whole bunch.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to the legitimately injured players who's this going to happen to, but it's going to happen because Lane Kiffin and the like were letting their defensive tackle fall on the ground 15 yards behind the play, so that they could get a free timeout.
You could
tell.
He
just looks he's jogging back down the field. He looks over down the sideline. It's like, you better pull your hamstring right now there, buddy. Oh, I have cramp.
No, it was obvious. It was obvious. It was like watching soccer at times when those guys they're getting hurt. And they're playing.
I don't know. In soccer, they way overreact like a pro wrestler to a phantom punch. This was like a guy standing there 1 second, the next second he's down like he just had like some major medical issue or something.
No, that's true. But, all right. Also from Andrew Valade, most excited to watch this weekend. I thought this would be mixed, but oh my goodness, I thought LSU Clemson would be higher. No doubt, Texas, Ohio State, 1-3 rematch of the semifinal. Columbus, Ohio, Arch Manning, etc. Auburn, Baylor, second. Somebody asked about we're not a Baylor station or channel. We sometimes someone referred to that, but that's actually a pretty interesting game. But I thought LSU Clemson would be much higher.
4%. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's
me. Florida State's fault.
That's what 2 and 10 will do to you.
That was me and one other guy.
That's what that was. That's what 2 and 10 will do to you.
Yeah, that's overwhelming. Texas, Ohio State, and Columbus at the Horseshoe.
I mean, I probably should have voted for that one because it's not the one I'm most excited for.
I voted for Texas, Ohio State.
The Baylor thing. I mean, we used to once upon a time cover them more intently and started off covering them, and then it blossomed into the rest of the Big 12 and then into national. So yeah, we're still down the road and we still have contacts over there, but that's not like our number one priority the way that it was 3 or 4 years ago. So we'll call that like we see it. I think I'm picking Auburn in this game, honestly. And so we'll see by the time we roll into Friday, but I am excited about that game. None of us went there for what it's worth either, just for those that may not know that. So no attachment there as far as that goes. Faith, on the other hand, Andrew, on the other hand, Brandon, on the other hand,
our ownership.
So we still do have our ownership, still have a lot of representatives and a lot of skin in the game. So there's a lot of excitement around here for that one. It's the biggest game they played at McLean Stadium that doesn't involve a regular conference matchup in the 10 plus years it's been open. So it's going to be crazy fun on Friday night. But yeah, Texas, Ohio State's my choice. And I just think all of this is beautiful. I don't even care about picking. I love all 4 of these. Like, they're my children. And I just hope they're all good.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going Ohio State, Texas if I have to pick one game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Here's how much we didn't go to Baylor. From my point of view, I've been asked to go there a couple times and speak to classes that my friends are professors of, and I dread going onto campus because I know even on a small campus like Baylor, it's not very big. I'm gonna get lost. And so some people have told, I know, because I don't know the campus. I've never went to school there.
It's a square.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as go to this building and go in this, I don't, when you're on a campus, I could still, you tell me to go to the Williams building in Tallahassee, I got it on lock. Yeah. 25 years later, I'm good. But,
well, yeah, well, you were there 6 years.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was there 4.5. But, okay. I dread it. People ask me hey, son's coming up to look at the communication school. What can you tell me about it? I'm like, I think it's on the right side of the road.
No.
I don't know. I've been there.
I've been on campus on the campus maybe 5 times.
See, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I was wrong.
Garrett Ross, thank you. Brandon Rowe, thank you. And also Andrew Valade, thank you. Faith Lynch for showing up. Thank you very much, as always. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, for our great sponsors. Back at it again tomorrow. Hey, tomorrow, Chris Falica, who used to work at ESPN College Game Day on the Lee Corso going away party this weekend, and Nebraska football coach Matt Rule's a part of the show tomorrow. So we'll have that and more. Thank you so much for your time. This is 365 Sports.